He's in town? Oh, he's not. Yeah, not
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to our meeting. Thanks for coming. We'll call our meeting to order now, and we'll all rise for the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And I'd like to approve the agenda with the change of moving citizens and delegations to address the board prior to our discussion items, since I feel it would be good to hear from coaches, students, staff before we start discussing some of the stuff in our discussion items.
Okay. Is there support? Support. Okay. So we have a motion and support to move the public comment to, if I understand that correctly, immediately after the approval of the agenda. Correct? Any discussion? Hearing none, show of hands, all in favor of the motion. Any opposed? Same sign. Okay, motion carried. So that brings us then to public comment. I think you all pretty much know the drill. This is a little different crowd, I think, so please do state your name and your association or affiliation with the district, and you don't have to give us your address, but just where you live, if you live in the district, for example, or city or whatever. So with that, let's begin. Yep, come on up. If you want to comment, come on up to the lectern, and everybody gets 3 minutes.
My name is DJ Shmoniak, football coach here. Gaylord Parallel Avenue is where I reside currently. Just to speak on behalf of the PE classroom in its current state that we have now. So physical education is an academic subject. Physical education provides students with planned sequential K through 12 standard-based program of curriculum and instruction designed to develop motor skills, knowledge, behaviors for healthy, active living, physical fitness. The current status of the physical education weight room, the air circulation there is not the best. The air exchangers that we have down there currently, they haven't worked since I moved here in April. Kids are having to, when they work out, maneuver around asbestos pipes that hang anywhere from 7 to 6 feet low. So they get in our way of some of the exercises. Ceiling heights are really low at like 7 foot. We got sprinkler systems and stuff like that where the piping dips below. I mean, any of our kids over 6'2" got to dip and move around them and duck when they walk around them. The duct work hangs rather low. There's been several occasions where there's been water lately that's been flooded into the weight room. The constant smell of sewer odor is down there that the kids complain about. Just some of the effects, right, with bad air quality, and no matter where we're at, increases the severity and frequency of asthma, allergies, transmission of viruses, bacteria resulting in more colds, flus, serious infectious diseases, leads to more school and work days missed, and it lowers, there's been proven facts on air quality where it can lower student scores on standardized math and reading tests. So I know the school's been doing a great job. It's deteriorating, but I'd ask that we take a look at moving the PE classroom that we currently have just for the state and the condition that it's in, and I ask that the board make an action item for this to be on the next board meeting. Thanks.
Thank you very much.
Good evening. My name is Brad Mohan. My wife and I are residents here in Alpena, and we have 5 children in Alpena Public Schools from Besser, Thunder Bay, and Alpena High School. I've spent my entire career in public education, beginning as a teacher and working my way through roles as assistant principal, and assistant superintendent. Today I serve as director of finance, and I'm currently completing my doctorate in educational leadership. I share that not to impress, but to underscore that I understand both the instructional and operational sides of the decisions that you are making. I want to begin by thanking the superintendent for the work already done, gathering quotes and identifying funding to relocate the weight room into a temporary space with the high school or within the high school, and that is meaningful progress and it matters. As a father of a student who participates in physical education every single day at the high school, I am here with a simple request stating that we must move the weight room/classroom because that's what it is. It's a classroom out of what has been described as the dungeon. We would not accept a science classroom in these conditions. We wouldn't tolerate a math classroom in that environment, and we should not accept it for any classroom, especially one where students are physically active and safety risks are inherently higher. At the end of the day, this is not complicated. This is about student safety. I believe everyone here who values student safety would agree that the current weight room situation is not good. The good news is there's already a solution that has already been proposed, and from what I've seen and heard, it is one that the community can support. And to be clear, we do not need to complicate the solution. Additional locker rooms are not necessary for this move. Students are already within a minute and a half walk. This is a practical, efficient fix that addresses the immediate concern. I also believe that if the administration, with the support of the board, makes the collective decision to move forward, you'll find the community more willing to support future incentives or initiatives, including a potential no tax increase bond extension that was referenced at the last board meeting. Trust is built through action, and this is an opportunity to demonstrate that student safety comes first. So I would respectfully ask that the board president work with the superintendent to bring this forward as an action item in next week's meeting. There's a quote from Nick Saban that says, if you want to make everybody happy, sell ice cream. Leadership is not about making everyone happy, it's about making the right decision. Tonight we are simply asking that you make the right decision for the safety of our students and student athletes, because every student who walks through our physical education department matters. And as you consider this solution, I would also encourage the district to think creatively. This space could serve as a dual purpose within the CTE programs, introducing pathways in health sciences and medical careers, opportunities like physical therapy aid technicians, certified personal trainer credentials, and exposure to sports medicine and athletic training could grow from this. Thank you for your time and your service and your commitment to our students.
Thank you.
Hi, my name's Tim Mullaney, and I reside in the Alpena area as well. I approach this from many angles. I was a student here, worked out in that workroom, started in 1987. I kind of believe that was maybe a temporary space even at that time and even prior. I think temporary is a term that can be used if there is a permanent solution that's already in play. Other than that, it seems to be more of a permanent spot. As a player, I worked out there. I coach now. I have children that have gone through the program, and as a contractor, I understand now about like the harms of asbestos, of black mold, things that I didn't consider when I worked out there. So the fact that it's grandfathered in and able to be used now, I don't think is a safe way to look at things. I didn't know as a child, but I know now that it's a problem. The proposed new weight room, from a contractor standpoint, the classrooms I understand we're using only have one opening that goes in as well as leave, where ingress and egress is always a safety measure in any dwelling, especially when you have a bunch of students in there. So even if it is a temporary proposal, the knocking down of the wall does create 2 doorways into that classroom, making it usable for other things after the weight room moves on. So I think it's a viable spot to have the weight room, and I'd like to see it happen, and hopefully it's considered with the board. Thank you.
Thanks for your comments.
Good evening. My name is Jay Karowski. I live in the Alpena area. I'm an APS parent, and I've coached football at Alpena High School for the past 7 years, following several years in our youth programs. Through my years of coaching, I've observed a consistent trend. At the youth level, natural ability is often enough to separate the great athletes from the rest. However, as students enter high school and the level of competition rises, relying on natural ability alone begins to fade. At this stage, success and safety are no longer determined by raw talent, but by the work put into physical development. My son's experience in junior high highlights the current issue that we face. He used to run from the junior high to the high school, bypassing the transfer bus simply to secure a spot in the weight room before it hit capacity. I would ask him why he did that, and he said, "Dad, if I didn't do that, all the equipment would be taken. I wouldn't be able to get my workout in." And my son is a collegiate athlete. Last year, the facility was closed for the summer, requiring us to manually disassemble and manually move the equipment from the weight room at its existing location to the junior high just to maintain access. Even then, we had to rotate groups as we cannot accommodate an entire team at once. And if memory serves, the previous summer, the weight room was unavailable for, I forget what the reason was, but we couldn't access it the previous summer as well for summer workouts. As a coach, my primary responsibility is player safety. While we want to be competitive with school districts that already have these resources, our focus must remain on injury prevention. For 2 years, our athletic trainer has done an incredible job with recovery. And now our new strength and conditioning coach, Jared Phillips, is seeing positive results across all sports. However, even the best coaches need the right tools. Our athletes are incredibly talented, okay, but to safely bridge the gap from naturally gifted to varsity ready, they need a facility that supports that growth. We must recognize that regardless of the sport, it doesn't matter what sport it is, every season is a long one. The physical toll on our athletes is immense. By investing in an updated weight room, we are providing the tools to maintain athlete durability from day one until the end of the year, ensuring that they stay healthy and resilient throughout their entire journey. I respectfully ask the board to make the high school weight room an action item for next week's meeting. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Jeremy Kraft. I'm from Alpena. I'm speaking to you about the current weight room situation, not only as a former AHS student, athlete, coach, and volunteer, but most importantly, a father of 2 kids. I've spent many days before and after school helping in the weight room. Last year I did it before Coach Phillips came. This year I help him. And some kids are athletes, some are not. We have multiple kids that come after school that do not take PED, but they want to lift weights. So it's open to all. We have male, female, from 6th grade all the way up to 12th grade. The weight room's been in the same spot since the late 60s when the school was built. It's a utility tunnel. Back then, we had a lot more students. We were at times pushing 800 kids in the graduating class. Now we're 300-ish or 250, what depends on the year. So back in the 90s when this was pushed, or the early 2000s, we didn't have the space. Now with these open rooms, we have the space. Everyone's mentioned about the height of the pipes and that. I've hit my head on those pipes before, and this kid's taller than me. I've seen a lot of kids exercise and hit their heads on it, and the smell. Our custodians do a good job. We know Kurt, he really tries. But at the end of the day, you have a weight room where kids are working out in a utility room with no ventilation. And like I said, I understand in the past we had a problem, but we didn't have a viable solution. Now we do. We don't need to build a new room. If that happens someday, if we build a new building with a bond, but we also know that bonds aren't guaranteed. So with this is a simple solution. There would be some cost. With the current weight room we got now, the height is so low, we don't have actually high school grade or college grade racks. We got home use ones. So that's great if someone has a home and 2 people are using it. But when you have kids before and after school and up to maybe 5-6 hours a day in the weight room, there's 2 classes, personal fitness and PED, that use that. So the stuff's not built heavy duty to last long term. And the height, the kids can't do certain lifts. Like I said, kids are bumping their heads, stuff like that. Limited space, Coach Karowski brought it up. We've had up to high 30s low 40s in the past. You can fit 24 kids in there, 3 on the rack lifting out. So then the problem is we got 10, 15, 16 kids standing around waiting, and then some parents pick the kids up at 3:30, 4 o'clock. So that's the situation. Like I said, we have a solution now, and I'd like to reiterate, if we went through and we said, well, we'll take a math classroom, let's move math class down there, there's not a principal or board member to say, oh yeah, let's put the math class down there. So I feel like the kids in PED or any gym class, or before or after school, shouldn't be put in that situation. Thank you.
Thank you.
My name's Doug Konechny. Born and raised here, moved back recently last year, city member. You hear all these people talk about the fact of what it was when we went to school. 89, I was there, bumping my head at my height. You can't do the proper lifts. I went on to the military, went on to college, played football in college. The way that the schools are developing their talents, not just for sports, but these kids may use those sports to have an opportunity to further their education, to where they're going to be able to help pay for school. Because, I mean, it's not going down. You know, these kids, whether they're athletes or not, have an opportunity to make themselves feel better about themselves. I graduated high school as 190 pounds. I left college football at 308. Because of the ability to use the proper way of using the materials, using the devices and the equipment to make myself a better person. You know, these kids, I've watched this program go like this. You want these kids to compete, whether it's baseball, basketball, women's, boys, whatever. If they don't have the opportunity to make themselves better, to stay healthy, because they're doing not just one sport, they're doing multiple sports through the year, so they don't have a chance to recover. You sit there and talk about the fact that they got to wait to get into the opportunity to do their next routine. Science has proven the fact that you're cooling those muscles down. You're defeating the purpose of what you've built yourself to get into, so you can have growth, so you can be better at it. It is time. You know, the program has an opportunity to make it viable, to move it into an area, then it should be on the next week's meeting, because it needs to be taken care of, not just for now, but for future, because these are our kids. If we don't do something for them now, then why are we here? Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much.
Buzzer kick me or something when my wait, is it start when I
We'll
start?
tell you.
Oh, yeah,
I'm
yeah.
sure you
yeah.
will.
Don't worry about that.
Hi everybody, my name is Matt Mishinsky and I was raised here. Was honored to walk the halls of Alpena High. Thank you so much for a thankless job that you guys do, and thank you for Mr. Abido for letting us a little bit behind the curtain and letting us know what it is that you guys have to consider. So I just want to say thank you. You're going to have people come up here for the next however long and talk about athletes, and I'm not going to talk about that. What I want to do is talk about a story of a young man that I got to work out with when I was in high school 27 years ago. And his name was Ryan, and he had Down syndrome. And Mr. Bennett wanted me to help spot him on the day that he bench pressed 300 pounds. And to tell you about the tears in that young man's eyes when he did it was remarkable. He was never going to see a court, the ice, the field, ever. But for him to be able to have that excitement, why can't anybody else do that? I understand it's hard. Financially right now things are a little tight. We're not asking for what the beautiful side of the state has got. Mary Lyon's words, not mine. We're not asking for the Taj Mahal. We're not looking to be like they have in Ann Arbor. Go Blue, by the way. What we're asking for is just something temporary in the hopes that maybe someday we can get something that'll make our kids feel proud. When I had to help that young man bench press, I had to duck down, and I had to rest my head on the asbestos-covered pipe, because that's what we had. And you're going to hear all sorts of people say the negative side of, well, they've been doing it for 55 years, why can't they do it more? And I look and I've got players here, I've got 2 sons here that shouldn't have to have that happen. They shouldn't. I thought it was neat when I was in high school and I got to work out in the same spot that my dad and my uncles got to work out in. But we shouldn't have to. And I'm not knocking you guys. I understand you're pushing the boulder uphill. I get it. But this is for our kids. This is for the kids that may never see the field. And you're going to have people come up here and discuss the mental health aspect of this. And it's fantastic. I know I may not look like I got a lot of mental health going right now, but I'm going to tell you, it's a wonderful thing. I've worked at the high school. I've worked at the junior high. I've been coaching football for a couple years now, coaching basketball for longer. And it's fantastic. And I just would ask that the board would make this an action item for the next agenda. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, guys. My name's Steve Jacobson. I live in the township, so I am a resident. I was a proud AHS alumni, ACC alumni. I grew up here. I live here, and honestly, I love Alpena. I have a little bit of a different thing. The past 2 years, I've been Sunrise Side's best photographer, and that is part of the reason why I'm here, as it ties into tonight. So I've had the opportunity to document a lot of these kids over the past several years, a few years, and market your kids, your students. In that access that I've had to be able to market those kids, I've been able to be behind the scenes in a lot of it and seen some of the things that they have to work with. It's worth noting that a lot of it needs work and it needs help. 2 years ago, roughly, I don't know what it was. I was part of a group that was trying to build a new weight room in the community, and that group fell apart. Several years before that, my wife and I were part of the Warm, Safe, Dry campaign. So in that time when we helped work with that millage, I know the budget constraints that you all are all facing. I'm well aware of that. But it's been the same weight room since I was in high school. And for every 10 years, it keeps getting pushed down the road. So I thank you all for all the hard work you do. I know it's tireless, and a lot of it you don't get enough recognition and thanks for, but I'm asking on behalf of some of these kids and myself to at least consider it now. And every year we find a reason to push it down the road, so I'm asking now to make it a priority. So I thank you for your time, and that's what I got.
Thanks for your comments.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I am Cynthia Mushinsky. I'm an Alpena resident, and I'm here to speak about my most important job, which is being the mother of 2 middle school-aged boys who will be your future Wildcats here not too long into the future. They're just getting started in their experiences in the PE classroom, weight room at the high school. And although I have heard the concerns from the coaches throughout, the last several weeks, several months, and couple of years, I think that today it's highlighted amongst all of their conversations just the safety issues and concerns that as a mother, I certainly don't want to place my kids in those particular circumstances. The air circulation, the asbestos pipes, the low ceilings, there's flooding and sewer odor, and the asthma and allergy issues that have already been brought up are all very big concerns for family members and those who are in charge of these children who are going to be spending a lot of time here. And there's been a growing interest in the conditioning program, thanks to the new coaches as well. So you just have a greater population who will be needing and wanting to grow in this particular capacity. And by keeping our athletes in the conditions in which they are currently training, we're not only handicapping ourselves in growth, but and athleticism, and we're also handicapping ourselves from putting more tallies in that win column as well. So today I was looking out, and I think we have mostly young gentlemen who are here representing just a small portion of the faces of the athletes that you currently have. But they all want to grow and they want to improve. So let's not stand in their way any longer. And I just ask that you please add this to your agenda for next meeting. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
My name is Andrew Shmoniak. I'm a student athlete here at Alpena, and I'm here to advocate for a new weight room. Our current facility is not just outdated, it is unsafe. Located in a basement, it has ongoing issues with dust, asbestos, and it just recently flooded. These conditions create a real health risk for students and athletes who use the space daily. Beyond safety, the room itself limits our ability to train efficiently. The low ceiling prevents many athletes, especially those over 6 feet tall, from performing basic overhead lifts safely. This hinders proper training and keeps our athletes from reaching their full potential. A new weight room would not only improve safety, but also elevate our athletic programs overall. It would allow all students to train properly and safely. Just as importantly, a better weight room would support student well-being. At my previous school, I saw firsthand how access to a quality weight room helped a classmate struggling with mental health find purpose and consistency through lifting. That experience changed his life forever. Providing that same opportunity here could make a meaningful difference for many students. Thank you for your time and consideration. I urge you to take seriously the concerns and needs expressed by my coaches, teammates, and fellow students.
Thanks for your comments.
Good evening. My name is Cash. I am a sophomore at Alpena High School, and I appreciate the opportunity to speak with you tonight. I want to talk about something that affects many of us every single day, our current weight room. Right now, it's located in what many of us call the dungeon. While that may sound like a joke, it's reality, and that's not an ideal or safe environment for students. The space is cramped, has no ventilation, and lacks visibility and important for proper supervision. When multiple students are lifting weights in a tight area, increases the risk of accidents and injuries. Strength training should be a place where students can improve their health and build confidence and learn proper techniques, not worry about safety concerns. Our weight room is used not only by athletes but also by students in physical education classes and those interested in fitness and wellness. This is a growing part of education. Moving the weight room to a safer, more open, and better equipped location would benefit all students. It would allow for proper supervision, safer movement, and a more positive environment where students can focus on improving themselves. I respectfully ask you to consider investing in a space that matches the needs of today's students and prioritize their safety and growth. Thank you for your time.
Thanks very much.
Hello, my name is Xavier Shimoniak, and I'm a student athlete at Alpena Schools. And the new weight room at our school will be a big improvement for everyone. it will be safer, cleaner, and more useful space for students to work out. The new equipment will be more reliable, reducing risk of injury and helping students to do workouts correctly. For example, in our current weight room, we are unable to do some workouts due to the lack of space. The improved layout will give students more room to move around, which will make the space run more smoothly and make it feel more comfortable and less crowded. A cleaner environment along with new equipment will encourage more students to use the weight room more effectively. Most importantly, this weight room will better support school sports teams by giving athletes a better place to train and improve their performance. This upgrade will also benefit the PED classes and can be used by them as well. For these reasons, I believe this project would be a good investment in both the students' health and school success. Thank you.
Thanks for sharing that with us.
So I'm Jared Phillips, work at the school as a strength and conditioning coach, as well as a floating substitute. So I've had the fortune to kind of be reintegrated back into Alpena school system since I've been away after I graduated. One of the things everybody keeps talking about, the athletic side of things. Yes, we do have athletics. Yes, we do owe that to our students, especially our student athletes, to make sure that they are in the best preparation that we can give them prior to competition. But one of the things that the community has kind of brought forth is, as it relates to performance academically, okay? Talking with my hands, apologize on that. So one of the things, regular exercise helps to increase prefrontal cortex, which can help to increase our ability to perform on the standardized tests. There was a study that was done in 2022 where what they did was they took two groups. One group went through some sort of shorter intensity, much like a weightlifting type of session, and then both groups then read two passages from the reading comprehension portion of the SAT. What they found was that the students that had done the bout of exercise prior to had increased comprehension and decreased eye fatigue, so they did not drift as they were reading. So they were able to comprehend what they were reading and put it into practice, basically. So that's just one of them that comes to mind. There's a number of studies that, in speaking with Greg Ciprine, the PE teacher over at the school, some of the stuff we were discussing was as it relates to performance on our tests, and as well as touched on by different members, the mental health benefits from it. When you look in the mirror and you like what you see, it definitely changes how you approach your day. But in general, though, improved and regular physical activity does have positive effects on our ability to perform cognitively, and that's really what this is about. It's about helping to improve the physical education department at the school, within which we do have students that participate interscholastically in athletics. So it's trying to benefit all of our students the best that we can. Working with Athletic Director Ben Henry, as well as Mr. Ciprine, trying to look at what kind of equipment we wanted to put in this room. One of the things that we wanted to do was give our students, especially those that might go play sports in college, basically a facility that would be on par with any other schools that they're going to compete against, but also on par with any college that they might be fortunate enough to attend, and hopefully, if everything goes well, have school paid for. Right, because that's the end of the day. We're trying to get our students to have better opportunities and be able to move to that next level so that they can grow and make positive impacts in their communities, which hopefully is back here in Alpena. So that's kind of when we looked at the equipment that we were going to put in there, knowing the footprint of the room. We wanted to be a Swiss Army knife, so we wanted stuff that's adjustable so that we can hit a multitude of different needs, as well as something that is an investment that will last for the next 30 plus years at minimum if taken care of correctly. So thank you for your time.
Thanks very much. Who's next? We're going to keep it going? Anybody else? else? Any further public comment?
Hi, my name is Spencer Kraft. I'm the boys head track coach at Alpena High School. I currently live across the street from Elwood Elementary School, so I'm definitely in the district. I didn't really prepare anything to say tonight, but I guess I wanted to speak on the difference in a life that lifting and everything can have and the positive effect it can have on multitudes of people beyond just athletes. Beyond just coaching boys track and field, I also coach a multitude of adult powerlifters and strongmen. And I've coached 5 of my athletes now for a total of 6 years straight. I've got to watch the change in these people. And I've also got to talk to them throughout this process on what makes them choose where they lift, which can adjust what I do as a coach for them, and 2, what we do. And trying to advocate for them to continue doing this as I can see the positive effect that it has on them. Making a welcoming space for someone that's new to something is extremely important. As we are all adults, I'm sure that we can all say that if you wanted to get into working out and go to working out and start doing a gym, start doing gym things, start doing lifts and start doing stuff to improve your own physicality, because it can have great effects on your own medical experience. You probably wouldn't choose something with 6.5 to 7 feet tall overhead space that has poor lighting, no airflow, possibility of mold, and a guarantee of asbestos. So if you are a young athlete or a young person, someone that wants to, or just someone that wants to come into their high school career and improve their own physicality, we're not really advocating greatly for those people. And as someone who has personally improved my mental health dramatically through lifting and the experience I've got to do that, and who's gotten to compete at a national level in the powerlifting world, I can say that it is dramatically different on what the space I'm going into can have massive effects on what the mental health gains are possible. If you look at a space that's unwelcoming, you're not going to feel welcomed, you're not even going to step in. So the amount of people that we're losing on a day-to-day, year-to-year, week-by-week basis, I think is a number that is not calculatable. The number of people that don't even want to try, that aren't even going to be here to advocate, who knows how many. There's probably hundreds, if not thousands, since the 80s that could have benefited in a massive way that we'll never see the effects of that. So I just would like to advocate for this to become a little bit more of a priority, as I've gotten to see how amazing the effects can be on everybody from kids all the way up to adults. So thank you very much.
Thank you for your comments.
Hello, I came in a little late from practice, so I'm not sure exactly what's been said or not, but I'm Greg Soprine. I'm the main PE teacher at the high school and mainly teach the PED class, which is a weightlifting class. So with this new facility that we're proposing, I'm going to kind of go about it as the classroom teacher, because it's an academic class for the high school, and I look at aligning with the district goals, the whole child development, which is part of that, the key element to physical health, contributing to muscle development, bone density, overall physical resilience, and strength for the strengthened conditioning program. Also, the academic programming, the strength and resistance program improves brain function, memory, and concentration, which directly enhances academic performance, which I think is a huge plus for strength training for any kid, whether he is in sports or whether they're not, which I have a lot of kids that are not in sports that use that class. This facility would support student physical education. It is one of the, I would think, I don't know if Ben has told you the numbers, but I have between 110 to 140 kids every day going through that class on average for the last 4 years. Which is a huge, and then after school, it has to be one of the most used classrooms in the school, yet it is the least place that anybody wants to go as far as a room goes in the facility. So With that, academic benefits to resistance training, I know it's probably been said, but it works the cognitive flexibility, it helps memory, supports the learning and academic success of students. The study that, there's been plenty of studies, but one study in particular found that it allows students for better concentration and students perform higher on tests. The neuromuscular demands of weightlifting stimulate brain plasticity. I knew I'd hit that one wrong, but it enhances the ability to process and retain information too. So students that are in the weight room, which is something that we are trying to promote, to have even more students in the weight room through the school day. It's just going to be a better overall academic bonus for the high school and academics in Alpena at Alpena Public Schools. So that's what I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Anybody else? Because now's the time, because we don't take questions or interact with the audience after public comment, so now is your big chance. Definitely don't want to miss anybody. More public comment, going once, going twice. Going 3 times. Okay. So, well, thank you all for coming, and thank you for your comments tonight, everyone. We'll proceed with our agenda now. Feel free to, hang around. But again, thank you very much. So we'll proceed now with our meeting. We'll look at that, discussion of the weight room.
Who knew?
Yeah.
I do have a special place in my heart for the preparation and inclusion of the strategic plan, so thanks, Greg. That makes my heart feel all warm and fuzzy. I do want to just, clarify one health concern that seems to be going out there. There is no asbestos in the pipes down there. And the history of that is in 2017-18, we did have a release of asbestos in the high school, and the corrective action on that was a district-wide or just at the high school asbestos mapping? District-wide. So, and I knew we had that district map. I didn't know if that was created by this asbestos release. But you ask Simon, and not to put you on the spot, but any space in any building in this district where asbestos is, he knows that, we know that, it's been certified that, and there is no asbestos down in the weight room pipes. So fiberglass pipes, certainly fraying and everything. You've seen the wraps around pipes and things like that. But just so the community knows, we are not sending our staff and students into a space that has open and flowing asbestos.
Thank you, Dave.
Sure. So now on to the topic at hand. We do have more information. I think you all have in the blue folders, correct? The yellow. The usage, because people had asked for the usage numbers of the weight room. So thanks, Greg, and whoever else put that together. Jared, I think you kept track of that. So appreciate that information. It is a well-used space. And I guess who can argue if the weight room is 50 plus years old? You can't argue with is it time? But we do have that information. And I think what's on the table, we have quotes that we'll get to in just a minute for equipment and flooring. And Simon can go through that with a little more detail, but of what that would cost. So the proposals that you're considering, and there could be a third, but essentially I think there's 2 that we talked about last month. We could view this as a temporary move, put new equipment and some existing equipment up into this space, and it is located in the 2 classrooms directly across from the cafeteria in the high school. We did do asbestos abatement work in those spaces over spring break, so as far as moving things, construction that needs to be done to accommodate this, we're ready to go in that regard. If that's the case and it's a temporary space, the two options that I would be aware of, and is one that then works to become a permanent space. And we might look at improving the ventilation, and putting locker rooms, or, really putting the money into that particular space. The other option is if it's temporary, I forget who mentioned it earlier, but if the community sees us investing in this property, in this project, and in this idea, then it makes it easier to go out to the community and partner with them for a much larger project. We talked about I'm not saying $20 million, but, the other communities that were referenced all had bonds out there for these projects, but our price range really came in around $3 to $5 million on a weight facility.
And how many square feet is this new area compared to the old weight room, and how many kids would this hold compared to the old?
So this one is 6,000 or 4,000 square feet. It's in the calculations for the
flooring.
For the flooring? Under the flooring?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and so we had to do those calculations for the air handling as well. While we're looking at that, though,
I've got a lot of questions.
Do you have it, sir?
Oh, I don't have it, no, I just have a lot of questions and concerns.
Simon Phil Nemi, in his email to us, had the square footage.
It's a number that's slipping my mind. Right?
Yeah, I know it's either 4 or 6. It is fairly similar to the existing space as far as size. That's with the 2 classrooms. Yeah, taller ceilings, so there's more air volume, those kind of things.
While he's looking for that, can you remind us, I know we talked about this last meeting, leadership, where do they get kicked out and have to go to?
Where is that the old attendance office, or?
It was like the attendance office that we paid for the summertime.
Right, so the leadership room has got a couple different options. The G116 is one area, but they wouldn't be losing space, they'd just be moving to a different space.
But they won't be losing any space, because I've been in that room, and they have a lot of equipment and stuff that they use.
There are things that need to be organized differently, but there's definitely a need for having space to create for all the different activities that they do. So that's recognized and planned for.
Okay, and was there another, there was something else spoke at the last meeting, teachers or coaches, learning coaches, were they there, and will they be able to?
They're already in their new space, which also I think is the old attendance office, right across from the main office in the high school.
Okay.
I was just there for a meeting this morning, and they're up and running.
And how, to piggyback on Monica's question, how many students, because that was one concern I heard. Oh, first of all, I would like to thank the students for speaking. I know that was not easy, getting up in front of us, and we all appreciate you doing that. Thank you. But piggybacking on Monica's question, will this room be big enough to accommodate, well, one coach said an entire team, or enough students in classes that go in there? Just a question. And then, so I'm assuming the ventilation concerns with the leadership room, the ventilation will be okay? Or we may have to look at better ventilation if this becomes a permanent room?
Yeah.
Okay.
And so I think, who wants to speak about the stations and because of the equipment, and how we can rotate through that?
No,
come on up if you
would. Come up here for me, please.
Well, the online audience, if you don't step up to the mic, they can't hear, and they like to know what's going on, so.
So basically with the proposed space, with what would become the 2 rooms that become 1, we'll have 12 stations. The general industry standard is 2 to 3 athletes per station.
Okay.
And so within a normal school day, you're going to be able to fit the 24 to 30, which is about what class sizes are.
Okay.
After school, we'll be able to utilize it as well, but with the leadership room, The investment that you guys made a couple years back on some equipment, we're going to bring up as much of that as we can as well. So that gives us 2 different rooms so that we can address, one, we can run 2 different classes out of there at the same time. So we can have one class on one side and then we can have a different class on the other side that might be a smaller class. But it also gives us an area to be able to have some overflow to address the different teams that might need to come in there. But within that, though, is just with anything else, making sure that we're scheduling correctly and not overloading the space. But we basically will see an increase of about 12 student athletes or students per session. So
The other thing I had, one coach brought up a concern about exit and entrances. There's only one door to that particular classroom. Could that be an issue?
I think what he was referencing was more so, because we had spoke ahead of this, of in some of the classrooms there is only one entrance and exit. If we go forward with this project, there will now be 2 doorways there, so we will have the ability to have 2 entry and exit points.
Okay. I don't mean to pepper you with questions. I'm just trying to...
What was your other question, Sarah?
What?
You had another... the air ventilation.
The air ventilation.
So this is one of those expenses that people don't understand that we have to do in order to move students. And so we had to do a study of that, the ventilation system, in order to see if it could handle the increased size. Because currently it's divided into 3 separate rooms. Now it would be, up to 3 rooms being combined into one full space. So the good news is it came back that yes, it would meet code and not a drop above that. And so when you're looking at what does a fitness space need, it needs more than simply code, because you got heat, you got, odors and everything. So that's one of those reasons why this might be a temporary fix, because, when you go in there, it's going to be not fresh.
No.
And so one of the estimates we got in this process is if we were to keep that space and invest in that is about $256,000 to upgrade the air handling system to really get it to a premier facility or air quality.
Yeah, no, just square footage numbers. Our current weight room is about 2,300 square feet, and we'd be looking at about 2,500 square feet of usable space in the new weight room.
Simon, I feel like that the coach's room, I know where it ends. Is there anything on the other side of that? Was there like that copy room there, or what room is? Because that isn't the end where the hall is it?
Yeah, it's the teacher's copy room.
The teacher's copy room is.
Oh, we can't add on to that. We can't.
Teachers, they use that quite a bit.
Oh.
Yeah.
We do.
Well, I'm just thinking if we were going to make it a permanent, bigger,
as part of this phase, no, but, if, again, I think that's one of those things where if we really decide that space, when we pair this with the work that we're doing with King Scott, like what they're looking at is what options would we have across the district, not just at the high school, for additions and remodeling and those sorts of things. So, we might find that remodeling the Wildcat Den is a large space. It's a large open space, and maybe we can use some of that space for this purpose or something like that. That's kind of the work of phase 2 of this project, in my mind. That's if you decide that we want to move it up to these rooms we're talking about and then invest in it. I don't think you have to make that second decision today, because you're either going to invest in that space or you're going to look at a field house or adding on to the high school somewhere in some fashion as a much larger project.
Which could, with the bond issue, if we decide to do that, well, I want the community to understand that if we do decide to do the bond issue, it's not only for that. There's all kinds of improvements, and after my discussion today, for all of our schools that need upgrades to their infrastructure. So,
and you're talking about extending the current millage beyond,
But if we have really good success with this temporary, like they were saying, and the community gets behind it, that'll pass our bond, and the community would be behind it.
Yeah. And they're very, I don't know if you picked up on this, but they're organized and they're passionate.
Yes, you are. Yeah.
So, again, really, two options, I think. Temporary, and then we look for something permanent. And that's a multiple-year timeline. That is not a next-year thing. That's, it's a big investment, big process. Or it's temporary, and we improve where we're moving it to right now.
Yeah, the HVAC upgrades to that space to bring it to, today's standards are quite costly because it's, we can't reuse really anything that we have. It's a total gut and remodel for HVAC equipment.
Is there the room for that, Simon? Overhead?
Yeah, there's a room, because all that existing equipment is in the mezzanine above, beyond, like behind the library up there.
Okay.
So there's
room to expand it.
There's room for it, but it's, new units, new ductwork, cutting new penetrations through the walls, roof,
The usual stuff.
Yeah.
Okay.
All in an existing building, so.
I know someone mentioned it, and I know Eric Hansen mentioned it at some point too. Have we looked at how this can be tied to CTE in terms of like grants or funding or anything with that? Or?
Yeah, we don't have clear answers yet, but it's certainly a pathway that we can pursue. And I think that would probably fit more into a larger facility. But yeah, definitely, it's very interesting. And just so everyone understands, I met with all the athletic coaches last week sometime, and it's important everyone understands how these processes work. And I won't go into it, but no project is simple. We have so many regulations and requirements and processes we have to follow. So this is a win for us. We saw 3 quotes that vendors gave us right off the bat, which was needed. We needed to have some idea of what we were talking about cost-wise to even then say, is this in the realm of possibility or not? And those quotes were roughly $300,000 for kind of what you're looking at on the bids right here. We scaled back the equipment that we purchased 2 years ago, about $23,000 in equipment that we had taken out of the bids you see in front of us. But even at that, the fair and ethical bid process dropped the price significantly. It's very different when some vendor is cutting his buddy a deal and then they're going up against, other competitors. Very different prices come out. So this was great. We'll talk about the details of those bids, but beyond just the removing of the equipment, the vendors came down significantly from where they were, giving us just a quote, and that's required by law. We can't just go to our buddy and get a $50,000, $60,000, $100,000 quote and call it a day. We have to have a fair bidding process. So I guess at that point, if you want to kind of go through what those bids show at this point, and we can tag team or.
I have a question though, Dave. What was King Scott's recommendation on this?
So we've made them aware of it. It's because this doesn't significantly alter the spaces or anything. They haven't weighed in on it much.
With us taking the 2 or 3 classrooms, will there still be room for central office if we decide to go that way?
Moving over to, yeah, and that's the difficult part. I forget the numbers, but the high school is seriously underutilized.
Right.
It's built for 2,200 students at its max, and it's got 1,200 registered, but about 900 are in the building at any one given time. And that's part of this process with King Scott of going through and figuring out, we're like goldfish. We've grown to the size of the space, but we need to scale that back.
Yeah.
So if central office were going to move, we would not just be moving into classrooms. We would have to put separations up and make sure that it was
right, but the square footage.
Facility.
This also actually might be a good opportunity if we did take the old weight room and turn that into something for visiting teams too, because I know we were having problems with a place for visiting.
Put in the superintendent's office.
Oh, yeah.
My microphone's off.
Dave.
I see her. Nobody heard.
Jim and I will get it.
Yeah.
But, I mean, if we did do,
It's
I know we're looking
2,300
for other
square foot.
teams, it would be a good spot, actually a perfect spot for other teams.
It could be, yeah.
We gutted it out and did something with it.
Yep. Yeah.
My question, Dave, is if we go this route, and looks like 80,000 roughly on the high side for the permanent stuff that we do to the rooms, are we going to regret that in 3 years when we build a whole new facility? I mean, if we consider that option, or, well, let me back up. Are we going to rip out what we're putting in 3 years?
You know, it's
if we go back to a classroom setting.
Yeah.
I mean, Jared can speak. I mean, equipment-wise, any equipment I would hope we would be able to move.
Yeah, that's
to
what
a-
I said, just
to a
with
new
flooring.
Floor, yeah, I mean, flooring.
I mean, we did that with the driveways at the high school as well, when we went through 2 years ago,
When we did
3 years ago.
We did the front oval.
And we just couldn't patch them anymore, so same kind of thing. We knew the bond work was coming up either the next summer or the following, and that likely we'd have to pull that work out. But at that time, you know, we felt the right decision was to put in that expense, understanding that we might have to pull it out when we do much larger work. So, you know, and I think that's kind of our family partnership conversation next, you know. Is that a permanent solution? No, but it's, you know, 78,000 is a lot of money, but when you're at a 50-some million dollar budget, is that a good investment for, you know, a number of years as we work towards that much larger plan that involves more significant changes to the footprint?
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, and going over the numbers we did receive 6 bids on the project, so I thought participation was very good. And a couple of them, the BSN Sports Fitness Store, we did seek out a sole source for equipment and flooring. So, you know, their bids weren't considered. I don't think their equipment was quite as nice. It was a little bit lesser quality.
They didn't have all of the equipment.
Yeah, so, and they didn't meet the criteria. So between them, you guys, I'm going to rely on Jared here. Their recommendation was for stray dog strength equipment and flooring. Option 1 had $148,000 for their equipment, and then $46,000 for flooring, and then $6,810 for some optional extra equipment, add-ons to, I think, the racks. And so for a total of $200,810 to be approved for this project, for equipment and flooring. And when looking across the board, at their lower numbers, the $188,000, that was some different racks, lesser options on the racks, I believe.
And versatility.
Yeah, you can speak to the equipment.
So I didn't mention this earlier, but I've been a certified strength and conditioning coach since 2013. I spent the last 12 years working at the University of Dayton down in Ohio. So we were talking about redoing our room down there, and some of the companies that bid on this, Sorinex, when it comes to the industry, they're actually the top provider across the board. They have the most amount of pro contracts. Number 2 is Rogers. The company that we were looking at is Stray Dog. They are very, very similar to Sorinex. They're not the same exact thing. The 2 companies, though, that we were strongly considering was Direct Fitness Solutions and Stray Dog Strength. One of the things that Stray Dog Strength has over Direct Fitness Solutions is the versatility. So we would have the ability to, at each station, recreate machines that we won't have room to bring up from our current room, in order to be a Swiss Army knife for whatever the needs are of the different students. One of the ones in particular is, it's without getting into the weeds of what the actual equipment is called, but it's an arm that has a pivot point on the upright of the rack that can move. Stray Dogs has the ability to move up and down on that rack so that we can position it for the different heights of our students, as we see anywhere from the short, whatever sport it is, all the way to some of our current ones sitting down in the chairs right there, but then also some of the individuals that came up and spoke. They also have, one of the big, strong considerations as well was safety. Their ability to use their safeties is also one of the better ones there. So they're basically a duplicate or a clone of the Sorinex, which if it's an open checkbook type of situation, Sorinex would be the company that I would feel strongly towards, but Stray Dog Strength, I feel we get the exact same quality, exact level of care that you'd get from a Sorinex. They're also a company that's been around since the 90s, so it's not a new company. They're out of Newark, Ohio. USA-based, USA designed, USA manufactured. So it's an investment within that equipment that's going to be, we have a lifetime warranty on the equipment, on the welds. It's something that would last, especially the way that we take care of the current equipment that we have, but also the way that we'll have our students take care of the equipment. It's going to last 30 years minimum. And then to answer your question too about the flooring, so what it is big 4-foot rolls of flooring, about 1/2-inch rubber. So they'll lay that down, that can be pulled back up and moved to the new space. So about the only thing in that space that would be permanent is taking down the wall that's on the inside. Other than that, everything else, everything that we put in is going to come out. One of the questions about the CTE earlier, that other room, the leadership room, nothing in there, everything in there will be able to be moved. We kind of see that as being available for the personal fitness class, as well as for staff and faculty, if they choose when a class is not in session, if it falls during their prep hour. But that space could grow into the CTE type of space where we can, with whiteboards set up for whether it's teaching the NASM test or doing any sort of the physical therapy aid type of pathways. So that's an area, like Mr. Rabideau said, we are in the beginning discussions of, but that was considered for that space as well. So.
Could you guys, I apologize if I missed it earlier, you said something about why the BSN Sports bid was not adequate. Could you say a little bit about the Fitness Superstore, because I noticed that bid is also an apparent low bid, but I'm gathering that it's not adequate, or there are concerns.
They don't have the ability to do flooring. So we were trying to keep it to a single source bidder. That way it's one company that's coming in doing all of the bid themselves.
Okay. And has Mary signed off on that? We can actually do that? Yes. We can take a lower bid as long as, it's fair to request that.
Yes, so let me be clear, BSN and Fitness did not have a qualified bid.
Right.
And that is a reason for which we can pass them over for the lowest qualified.
That's what I was looking for. Yeah. Thank you very much. Okay, good.
Is there anything that the CTE program could make for this project?
To that, the only question I would have, this is all information that I've not pursued yet. Our welding facility has the ability to make a number of items. It would just fall to who would carry the liability type of situation in terms of insuring the equipment. So with these companies, they carry the liability, they'll do the installation. It's something that could be a pathway. We're very much open to, as much as possible, utilizing, I know...
I can just say, no.
There we go.
No, I mean, not weight equipment, certainly not there.
He said racks.
Yeah, no, he's talking weight racks, which is, well, I guess free weights and things like that.
That's what...
Yeah, we get free weight racks, that... Okay, but not the rack equipment and things like that.
And that's one of the pieces of equipment that would come up from the current weight room is the dumbbell rack, which was made years ago by the welding department, so.
And not to jump topics, but this food club that Mr. Studley and I are looking at, that has rack shelving units, and we've had conversation with CTE about putting those shelving units together for that, so. We do look for opportunities to include our CTE students in these things. So.
Okay, you talked about the difference in the equipment between like the Sorinex and the Direct Fitness Club. There's a $30,000 difference in the flooring. Is the Stray Dog flooring, what's the difference between those?
It's the thickness of the flooring. is what it comes down to.
Okay. Would that be a better product that we would be able to move in the future, or is it worth putting the money into?
The thicker the flooring, the more that it dampens the sound, is the main thing. And the floor, so half inch is basically what Stray Dog quoted. That's pretty normal for the industry. Sorinex tends to go towards the 3/4 inch range. So it's just a preference that they have.
Well, I was just thinking when, dropping the weights, will it prolong the life of the weights and all the other equipment if we do go with a thicker floor?
Yes, basically. That's basically what they've come to. One of the other things is within the weight plate itself, what goes over the bar is basically a collet. A steel insert is actually what's going to help to prolong the weights the most. The current bumpers that we have are made from recycled rubber. The center collet is just a little piece of metal, and as that wears away, it gets loose, and we have to throw them out, basically. We can't use them safely anymore. We don't throw them out. We still save them because we can use them on sleds and those kind of things. But as far as putting them on the barbell, they're no longer safe. Whereas the single steel insert is one that is going to be roughly 6 inches or so, but that's going to maintain the integrity of the investment that we're asking to make, basically. So that combined with the thicker floor, yes, would very much prolong easily the 30, 40 years minimum type of deal. So.
Thank you.
I just have one thing. I just appreciate a lot of you tonight referring to this also as a classroom, because I think that's something we need to move beyond this just being a weight room, because I think, physical education class is required for graduation, and as a mom, I know my kids were not interested in PED because of the location of the classroom, and knowing that we do currently have an abundance of space, I think, is that your words? I don't know, an abundance of space per King Scott in terms of equity. I don't think we should have any of our classrooms in the basement, so if we've got the room, let's get kids out of the basement.
The dungeon.
The dungeon.
So move it for a vote next week.
Okay. Any information that you know right now that you'd like to have? And obviously, if you have questions, just let me know.
All mine got answered.
Okay.
Yes. Does Mary have the money?
Oh, yeah, thank you. Sorry. Yes, absolutely. And
I see Mary's hiding.
yeah. She's not here.
That's what I mean.
She's
hiding.
Yeah. So don't quote me, but we do have a separate fund that has been sitting, and she would plan to take, I think she was saying $30,000 out of that fund. It's not general fund. It's a separate, I think it was donated at some point, and then we just have it on the side. So she would take $30,000 from that to offset this cost.
And then the balance.
The rest would come out of general fund. Yeah.
Well, sounds like this will be on the agenda next week.
Okay.
Great. Yeah, I want to thank everybody again for your input, and thank you guys for coming up and filling us in on all the details. And I want to thank the board, too. I have seen and chaired boards before that were not nearly this engaged. It's a pleasure to watch all of you work and get all your questions answered and everything, so that was just great. Anything further on this topic from anyone? Okay. Thank you all very much.
And as they say, well, they don't say, you don't have to go home, but you can't stay here. Any of those of you that came for that particular item, you are welcome to depart.
You don't have to.
What?
But you don't have to.
But you don't have to.
No, you don't have to.
I'm terrible at reading lips. No, you're welcome to stay.
This is not the No, okay, thank you.
Who wants to say something? Matt wants to say something.
I just wanted to say thank you for letting us come and do this, and I know it's not the norm to have so many young people here, but some of these guys had an eye-opening experience, and I just want to say thank you for that.
You guys should come more often.
Yeah. Yes, we totally appreciate the students.
Yes, we love the public's participation, so thank you very much.
Thanks, Ben. Yeah, thank you.
A little bit, yeah.
All right, are we ready to transition to the family partnership?
Idea for Dave.
What's that?
You would have 2,300 square foot all to yourself.
Yeah, 2,300 all to yourself.
We can leave the mirrors and stuff too.
So I can look at myself.
You can hang out with all your friends.
It just gets better with every step.
Oh, boy. All right, well, before this deteriorates any further, let's get on to the family partnership, unless you need a recess to yuck it up a little bit or something.
Keep going.
All right, let's power through then.
So again, just consideration, the family partnership and NEMSCA, who are in Sunset Elementary, annually are requesting more space for their programs. We've done some modifications here and there. We've traded a classroom, two classrooms back and forth. Nobody's ever really satisfied with it. What they truly need is two separate buildings, or plugging King Scott, the ability to add on to some of our elementary buildings so that we could put NEMSCA classrooms, out at elementaries and out into the community. But, in working with Jen Meyer and staff at the partnership, and also we had conversations with NEMSCA this year about what this plan might look for multiple years, we then looked into the two portable classrooms that are in the back of the Sunset Elementary. They've been defunct since 2013 or maybe 2010. One side is currently used for storage. But anyway, if we're looking for temporary-ish, long-term solutions, the idea came that maybe we see if we can get these things back online. So Simon worked with the building inspector back a couple months ago. Ultimately found out that yes, they would need to be improved, but they could be inhabited and used as classrooms. And so ultimately we have, I didn't share it in front of you, but you've got it in the update, roughly $78,000 to do the improvements needed to open those, not just the one, but both classrooms up for the family partnership. Jen Myers is very passionate about her program and says that every classroom is potentially $150,000 in annual revenue. Even if we cut that in half, this project would pay for itself in 2 years, and almost in 1 year. So that's the balance. When you look at early childhood, you've got AMA spread between Ella White and Lincoln. They're trying to consolidate their staff. We have NEMSCA that's out on 32 and in a couple of our buildings and in Sunset. They're all wrangling for space. And so the solution isn't to just move one person and let them, figure out what to do. There's a longer-term plan to this of what we can do. Our conversations with NEMSCA, in no way holding them to anything official, but, on a multi-year view, they have possible options available to help support that through building or leasing, those sorts of things. But that's, again, it's a longer process, and it's a much bigger investment than in, making this temporary improvement now. So in my view, we get these classrooms up and running, the family partnership continue to grow. We have another year's worth of time to really dig in with King Scott and budget because of what the state's doing or possibly doing, have a better idea. Central office, my new office in the dungeon, whatever it might be. We can start organizing those pieces of the puzzle a little bit better to make larger scale updates, moves, transitions, whatever you want to call them.
Have the NEMSCA school or rooms that are at Sunset, have they been full?
Like their rosters, are they full?
Yes.
Or I don't know if they're at capacity as far as their rosters, but all the rooms are being used.
How many rooms do they have?
4 days a week. Six.
With their office, one.
And they rent those from us, don't they?
Yeah.
Okay. Do they bring $150,000 a year? in revenue?
No.
Okay.
No. But they're definitely the feeder for our students.
But we, from King Scott, there are open classroom at Hinks, and was it, there was a few.
Sanborn?
Lincoln
No.
was what I thought
Lincoln?
we weren't utilizing the upstairs of Lincoln.
We can't
Yeah,
put
they can't go on
preschool
the
in there,
second
but we can put kindergarten next to the staircase.
Yeah.
Pre-K, K, and even first grade has to be on the first floor unless it has a dedicated exit stairway. So like Lincoln has a first grade classroom on the second floor, but it's right next to the stairway that only they use in case of emergency.
How many classrooms does Partnership use?
The whole building except
they're using
for...
the remainder of the building, so there's 4. There's 5 classrooms, and then the media center, and then there's, the gym, and then some various other, smaller spaces they're using.
Smaller rooms for
Yeah,
music lessons.
for lessons. And,
Yeah, music and stuff, so.
yeah.
So they would not fit in Lincoln.
Partnership?
The partnership would not fit in Lincoln.
No, but like to me, that's what we're trying to figure out with King Scott.
So you're looking to buy us time, is what you're trying to do tonight.
Yeah, allow partnership to grow while we figure out what we think is the best path forward. Because the next move, those 6 classrooms have to go somewhere. That's a big move. Either whether it's NEMSCA 6 or it's the partnership's 5.
Would they be able to move a couple of their classes, though, to give Jen more space?
So the short answer, I don't know what the real estate market is. The last time we had to close a school out, or a classroom out at Wilson, it took them almost half a year to find someplace, and they ultimately landed on that facility on 32. So real estate is not readily available for them to move. And actually moving them is more difficult because of all the licensing they have to have
The rules
in
for that are
the
very
rooms.
strict. Very difficult. My wife works at Wilson, was at Wilson, and now is on a 32, so.
Because after spring break, I went and actually looked at these trailers with Jen, and she wasn't really sure exactly what was going to be going on with moving in or what the plan was. But, after looking at them, I'm sorry, but I can't see... It's going to cost way more, Simon. I truly think it's going to cost way more, and I can't see putting the kids there when we have space. And I think we got to remind ourselves, too, this isn't just partnership. These are our APS students. And we're bringing in a lot of money with very little overhead. And I love NEMSCA, but I think we need to really involve Jen in this decision and really look at what we're doing for our students first.
So we have.
But Jen had no idea what was going on with this. Like, if we want to include administrator, we can't even...
She certainly did. I sat in her office with her entire staff.
It must have been
and
afterwards.
No, it was before.
But,
And we
need-
talked about it, and we came up with 2 viable options. Number one, moving Feeding Kids Ministry out of the kitchen,
Yep.
and they partition the kitchen space for some classrooms, or bring these 2
But we bring
online.
administration in here to talk about cell phones during lunch, but yet we don't have Jen here to talk about this.
I guess this is management, making these decisions and recommending them to the board. I can tell you, Simon, you've had many conversations with Jen around this. I've sat in the room and gone through all of the options, and the options we came out with an agreement was moving kids, feeding kids, partitioning the kitchen, possibly participating partitioning the gym stage in some way, or looking at opening up these temporaries.
Yeah,
And after Simon heard from the building inspector that, yes, we could do it, I communicated with Jen that this is the plan we were moving forward, and she thought we were talking about 1 space, but we're actually talking about 2. So she knows. She knows what's going on.
I'm just saying, when we have to make decisions, we rely on administration to come in, and we bring administration to our meetings. That's,
And we can bring Jen. I mean, we're trying to, I'm not moving NEMSCA. I'm not going to do that, not until we have a viable plan for them to go somewhere. They will absolutely find themselves space at All Saints and Emmanuel.
All Saints only has so many classrooms. They had four preschools waiting.
But I'm not
and
going to force them to make that decision. Our relationship is too important to do that. We have a couple of options. We don't do anything. Jen said she can operate as is. She feels we're losing out on 150, possibly 300,000. Talk to Mary about those numbers. I would cut them in half, in best case scenario. And even with that, it's doing that. But the feeder, the relationship with NEMSCA has equal value to it, if not more, because if they don't feel that APS is a place for their preschool experience, and they're already in All Saints or Emmanuel, they're not going to move. And then we've lost those students for 8 years. And I know Jen's talking point is that's not true, but that's why you pay us to make these decisions. In our experience, that is what happens.
I have a comment and a question. The question is, would anybody like to go see these spaces?
Yeah, please do.
Yeah. So I would say, again, if it's a policy board, you feel that it's going to be more. Simon has expertise. He's reached out and got quotes on this.
I do have a second opinion. I have a meeting Wednesday for another second opinion with our architect engineering firm. Take another look at it. So
I just think it might be helpful for us to have an idea, to be able to see the spaces.
I can't argue, but, I think, we're talking about how to make difficult decisions, and we have a person with expertise that's reached out to a building inspector with expertise that's you've reached out to contractors to give us estimates. Are the 7 individuals at this table going to have more expertise?
No, I'm not saying that, Dave. I'm not saying that. But if we start opening up stuff in there, what else could we find is what I'm saying, Simon. There's a lot of, it's pretty rough looking.
We could find things. I still feel the cost per square foot, we're not going to be able to put an addition on a building for that kind of money. So is it diminishing returns to our money? Potentially, but if we get 5 years out of the program, and then we can jump to moving NEMSCA, I think that's money well spent. Are these spaces Taj Mahals? No, they're not. They are temporary classrooms. They were put there, I don't know when they were put there, for the need that we needed more space, and that's why they were put there. So if we can, instead of having them sit and rot, if we can bring them back to life, it's cheap square footage in my opinion. So,
and that was just my suggestion. Well, it wasn't really a suggestion, just a question, but was just for informational purposes, just for us to have a clear understanding of the spaces that we're talking about. Was really my only thought. So I wasn't suggesting that the board go in there and then come out swinging. As far as decision making goes.
To the weight rooms. The basement, the boarded up windows and current situation and their current, standing, yes, they're not the most inviting spaces currently, so.
And anyway, and then my comment was simply that having taught at Partnership, I did teach music lessons there, and I think they could be probably fairly flexible as far as moving music lessons around, because I have taught violin lessons in a converted bathroom and all kinds of interesting places. So I think they're, as far as those things go, they can be pretty flexible and they'll be okay. But I'm kind of just curious, for myself, would I want to teach in one of these things if I were, I don't know.
Well, not in its current condition.
Not in its current condition, I've taught in some rough places, But
I think it's also helpful to remember, perfect is the enemy of good, and I think this is kind of like the high school where we're not looking for a perfect forever situation, and Will was at the Partnership for multiple years, and so I know what those are, and they are rough looking in their current shape, and I know that they can be improved, but also a reminder they're used one day a week, so we're not
That's what I was
asking
gonna
people
say.
to sit in, most of those, like music lessons are 35 minutes. It's a pretty temporary situation for, and if it can help get us through a couple of years and till we figure out what the perfect situation is, not opposed.
I don't think we usually put titles on our YouTube videos like other YouTube videos, but I think if we did this one, "Imperfect is the enemy of good" would be the title. So thank you for that.
Sorry, go ahead.
What was the dollar amount to get them going? Because
I've got about 80,000. I mean, that's to get them
both going.
Both. I mean, they're tied together, so yeah, they're.
Are they 20 by 20s, 20 by 30s?
Yeah, I think they're 20. I think they're 2,000 square feet or something.
Together.
Together, yeah. I mean, they're not.
I guess it's pretty hard to find building for that price per square
Yeah,
foot.
that's the thing. I mean, it's the square footage cost to get them not perfect by any means, not, not all the bells and whistles, but.
Can you, what would some of the improvements be on it? I mean, what are they
Well,
looking
first thing would be asbestos abatement. There's asbestos flooring. There's some drywall that has some asbestos mud, so I want to get all the asbestos out. New flooring, some new drywall, a couple of new windows, new doors, heating. We need a heating system in there. There's currently an old boiler out back that fed those two temporaries that would need to be replaced. Potentially, still looking at options on what the most cost-effective way to do that would be.
And that's in the 80?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And it's some money in there for that. So, paint, and so maybe some new lighting, and to brighten them up and make them at least usable.
What is the, how's the insulation in it? What is it?
I'm thinking it's 2x4 walls with fiberglass. I mean.
Is it at least like an R16 or?
Yeah, it's probably an
code?
R13 insulation, probably. There might be foam or something on the outside.
Okay.
So.
One of the other issues too with the partnership is it is operated only one day a week. And as we're looking at efficiency and all of that, yes, the partnership brings in more than it costs to run it. But what can we do with that building the other 4 days? Or move NEMSCA, move the partnership, there's, and align that so that instead of 4 days a week, we're utilizing it and, building programs around 5 days a week. Partnership was a 2-day-a-week program 3 or 4 years ago, probably 4 or 5 years ago. That was scaled back. It's something we don't agree on. There is a lot of flexibility. You have 4 days that building is not being used in the week for that programming flexibility. But, Jen stands on that just cannot work. I think as a board, you have to look at if there is a building sitting empty for 4 days a week that we are paying to heat, clean, maintain, and that, we need to look at that and see what else we could do with that building.
Jen has some really good ideas for a dual program, and then also some other ideas about busing kids, and I'll let her talk about it, but it'd be good to get her in here because she's got some great ideas to utilize
And
4 days of the week.
I have spoken with her, it's.
Oh, so you know what?
Well, I don't know what ideas she threw to you, but again, she was involved in how do we brainstorm the need for, space next year.
A bird just chirped in my ear and said partnership is scheduled for 2 days a week next year?
No, not to my knowledge.
It is, but nobody's filling up the second day.
Okay, so apparently that's being offered?
Not to my knowledge. That would be done without my knowledge.
I think that most of the kids that attend the partnership program on Tuesdays, they come from at least 35 miles one way. So we're getting students from Gaylord, from Oscoda, from North and Rogers City. So they're coming a long distance to come here. And so if the classes are offered, they want to do one day, and they want to do it on the day that they're most that they can get most of the electives.
Yeah.
So that makes, like, that's why I think that they need the space for the one day, is because that's what they can fill up. But also, it's the only program in our school that is growing in attendance, and there's only 8 of them, I believe, in Michigan, the partnership programs, and we're the only one that does not have a wait list to get onto it. And if they take, I believe it's 5 or 6 classes with us electives, then we get 75% of the revenue of the school budget. Is that right, per student? So that is a huge number, and if we can offer more classes, then we can get more electives filled, and that's more money coming in. I mean, it's the only one that is continuously growing, and we can double it in size and still be.
Well, there's some restrictions on how fast it can grow.
But I think it's only 10% of our full.
Yeah. Jen is very passionate. Her talking points are rock solid, but you have a responsibility to look at the whole picture of this district. We have a very valuable partnership with NEMSCA. You have to look at that. You have a building that is sitting empty 4 days a week. I am not questioning the quality of the family partnership program. I'm saying, as we look to right-size our district, does this make sense for the district to have a building sit empty 4 days a week? You have to consider the investments that we're making across the district, like an athletic facility and all of those things. Jen is very persuasive. Jen is very good at what she does. Her whole team is very good at what she does. There's a lot that we've been very lenient with her and her program on. Those aren't part of her talking points. And again, that's that balance between managing the whole district. We give a little, she wants more. We've got ourselves in some positions that, don't exist for other staff members because of the unique nature of that program. It's a union position, and, we've made accommodations for that. And I say that just when that conversation is had, I've sat in that conversation, you've sat in that conversation. She is very passionate about her program and building it, and that is what we need. But our job is to look at how it fits into the entire district and that entire plan for what's going on. And you're not hearing the whole picture.
Well, I don't think that your outlook on the feeder program is true. I don't think that is, to keep those spaces.
Let's try.
No,
let's cut NEMSCA. And
No, I definitely don't want to cut
NEMSCA.
NEMSCA. That is not even an option. No, but I think that there's other room for them at Hinks, or, I think that we should prioritize making room for them, because again, if we can get this program, because this is more money coming in, so we can't afford a new weight room. This is how we can grow our district.
And so I'm not saying we don't do that. I'm saying we've got a solution at $78,000 to buy us a year to figure out what to do.
But we have no classrooms anywhere to move a class or two in NEMSCA in.
They can't just pick up and move is the issue. The timeline here is very short.
I think part of that discussion that I recall also was splitting up the classes to different buildings would be quite a burden on their staff and organizational issues. I guess I could appreciate that side of that discussion, because I think that would be, you're basically saying, well, now you have to house your program in 2 different places. People have got to come and go.
Well, there are other NEMSCAs in other schools, aren't there? Aren't they? They have
Yes, there
classrooms in
are.
other schools. There's a few of them throughout other schools, so they're not all in the same place. They're spread out.
Right. And if we spread it out more, that exacerbates it.
I guess I would just highlight the temporary nature of this, because what I'm hearing from administration is just there's a great deal of commitment to solving this in the near future. But I guess I can appreciate that some board members feel this is not adequate. I guess that's just why I think it might be useful to
my concern
take
is
a visit and see what we're really
Spencer
talking
think
about.
that it could get up and going for 80,000. That's do you truly believe that you can get
Simon?
Or Simon, not Spencer. Simon.
I will say that I have a second opinion coming Wednesday, so I'll have some more information for you for Monday's meeting.
Okay.
Like I say, would be, my numbers are us doing some of, APS maintenance doing some of the work. And once again, it would be to get them up and going. Once again, no frills, no nothing, a room, a space that's warm, dry, with correct lighting. That's it. So, there's technology portion. I'm not talking any technology, anything like that. We're talking a space that's usable for, their type of program. So we'll.
And we don't have to do anything.
Yeah.
Part of my conversation with Jen was we maintain the status quo. She wants an answer. Is she going to get 2 classrooms, 1 classroom, or no classrooms? And she'll build her schedule around what's available. Now, if she's having other conversations with board members and doing things, that's something I need to address, because I was not aware that they were publishing 2 days for next year.
I got the schedule right here. They're advertising for it.
Yeah, and that's not been, I've been saying, why don't we open it up to 2 days? That would make the flexibility, the demand on the space, and there's been nothing but resistance.
And I don't think this really just comes down to Jen. I think that the families of the partnership are very passionate about it as well. So that's,
I also met with their PAC, yes.
Yeah. No, it was
I've
just,
been there,
you know how it is.
And I guess, I'm a little disappointed that I know the narrative is that I'm not aware of what's going on over there. And I've spent time over there. I've spent time over there with board presidents and sitting down and having conversations. I've been there with their PAC, and the talking points are all exactly the same. I know, but I have a job to manage an entire district, not just one program. We're trying to find the best path forward so that program can grow. And to say that all the other buildings are declining, that's a little twist on words, We don't look at it that way. We look at our overall student enrollment, which has been stable but declining. And we do what we can to continue to build that program. And I'm happy to sit down with any board member and go through all of the accommodations that we are currently under on that program, and the variances from, processes that we follow in all the other buildings, so that you have the full picture.
I think we should take a step back from this conversation and leave it set for next week right now, to let everything settle out and Simon give us a firmer
I'll have more
answer on
information to
that.
provide.
Yeah, I think that once we have your second opinion, that'll be more information. And I guess I would encourage board members in the meantime to visit with Dave. If there's, more information that maybe you aren't getting, that's an opportunity for him to, give you more of his perspective on that. I don't think that can hurt. More information is usually good.
I may have missed something, so that's.
You said you had some contractors come through, Simon?
I got architect engineering firm
this
coming.
week?
Yeah, Wednesday. So.
What did you, just the building inspector last time around?
The building inspector's been through there. It's the only one that's currently been through there.
Okay, which one was that?
Chris Hatch, the city building inspector. That's city, so.
Oh, yeah.
Very good.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Any other questions about this?
Well, the NEAMSCA, that is a preschool program, correct? For 3 and 4-year-olds. And you say that there are 5 classrooms, and I'm pretty sure that they have a cap on how many students they can have in student-teacher ratio in there. So I can see where trying to move them somewhere else is not a really great idea. And also, data has shown, and coming from the grade levels that I taught, that children who attend preschool have a much better grasp when they come into kindergarten and on into first grade. And the data has proved that their reading scores are improved, their math scores are improved too. So preschool is very important. And I wouldn't want to see anything done to undo NABSCA.
Oh, no, I agree 100%. We should definitely not take away
No.
preschool at all.
And I guess, just the licensing stuff, you want to talk about what it means to move a NEMSCA classroom?
Well, I was interviewed for preschools here. My license in Virginia gave me, I was certified to teach preschool, but up here I'm not. It's a whole nother ballgame to teach preschool. There's like 26 more hours of courses you have to take.
Yeah.
On top of that, you have to have lead inspections, you have to have a site inspection for square footage, you have to have a playground that's appropriate with the amount of barrier for falling, which is set up currently at Sunset on their little playground. You have to have staff based on a site license, so you can't have the same teacher subbing at Wilson and Sanborn at Hinks in a program because you have a license per building. So we have a busser at GSRP. We have one license for that building with 2 classrooms. We can't share subs. We have to have that separated. So by having them together in one space, that makes their staffing a lot easier, and just overall licensing.
And moving into an existing classroom that's currently not being used for preschool?
You would have to go through the fire code. It's been 2 years now, but the fire code, the lead inspection, the closest inspector is Detroit. The website will say that we have one close. We have people certified. They don't have the tool. So we did share ours with All Saints because we were opening at the same time. So that person had to come up and do that inspection. Health department inspections, square footage. It's a 630-page manual, I think, is the technical manual. So it would be a huge undertaking for them to move.
And would they have to go into the gym space at Hinks to certify that?
We are licensed at Besser to be able to be in it with the lead inspection, but we don't use it because they're there full-time, so they're using it in the classroom. So any place that a student goes would have to be a licensed space, whether it be office, hallways. You have to license everywhere that the student may go without a parent, which includes bathrooms.
How long did that process take you?
Oh, wow. When did I get hired in this position? May, and I think we opened in January.
How many schools is NEMSCA at right now?
I believe Sanborn, Wilson, Hinks?
Not Wilson.
Sanborn, Lincoln, Hinks.
Okay.
And Wilson doesn't actually have any space. They're sharing all specials in one room at this point, and then the teachers that don't have space are on a cart, moving their classroom portably on a cart. And I don't know that Hinks has any open rooms to add. I can't think of any open space there because we have a second kindergarten this year.
All right.
Thanks.
I want to thank you all for a very robust discussion. And again, I think more information is good. But yes, we'll move along for now on to safe routes for school, or to school.
And this is just an update. I shared that in my superintendent update last week or 2 weeks ago. I'm just pulling up my email.
While you're looking, can I interrupt? Do we want to maybe release our officers in the back? Is this a waste of resources for them to be here once public comment is finished? Yeah. Are you?
I'm comfortable with that. Guys, you have a...
I feel like we're hogging.
All right. Very good. Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
Good.
We are going a little long, aren't we?
Yeah, well, I mean...
It's been a little, yeah.
Well, it just seems like resources might be better well spent. Yeah.
They might. All right, thank you, yes. Are you all set?
Yeah, I had an email up, but it's gone, so I'm just pulling that back up. So the Safe Routes to School project focuses on improving pedestrian, cyclist traffic to and from, or making it to and from school. This came up, really it was initiated when the announcement that third was going to be extended came up. Some other governmental entities asked to have a meeting to look at that project. In that process, this Safe Routes to School was mentioned as an option to possibly address the extension and the concerns in front of the junior high, and then other, just issues that we've talked about in the community with people walking to school, biking to school, getting to and from. So the way the grant works is, number one, you can go at it alone and fill out the grant. The school district can't, but the city could, or it's a P57, so the road commission could. Or you can engage with Michigan State University, which then does traffic studies, neighborhood studies, and then compiles all that data and recommends projects to put into the application for the grant. And that's what's in front of the board right now is between the city, the county, the city, the township, and the school district. There is a cost to sign on for this process. And it is so we would be looking at putting on, signing up for the study for 5 of our city schools. We would have 6 schools actually, with ACES and high school being in one, but the cost would be for 5. If we were successful in the grant, the money awarded would be able to use within a 2-mile radius of each building. So essentially, it would extend into the township, and anywhere from 2 miles outside of Lincoln, Besser, the high school, essentially. So this, because the school district, like the city or road commission, can't apply for this grant without the school district being signed on to that process, that's where we come in. So, the cost for those 5 buildings, $15,000, and the city has offered right now, and of course I've lost the email, but $6,000 towards that cost. And then we haven't heard from the township yet, but since the junior high sits in the township, it would be a good partnership if they would contribute to that. So ultimately what happens is if we sign on to this and we do the study and we come up with the recommendations for the project, then it gets turned over to the entity filling out the actual grant. The city, in this case, would take that on, and then we would be done with this as far as cost. All the engineering costs and all of the construction work and everything would fall to entities that can do that work. We would still have some components to this where we have to do follow-up surveys. We have to provide education on walking and cycling to school and safety, things along those lines. But that's where our participation, not participation, but our financial role would stop on this.
What was that role, for memory's sake?
So
the dollar amount at
$6,000.
$6,000.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
No, that seems really cheap.
$15,000 minus the state is doing, or the city would put in $6,000, and we don't have a cost from the township if they would put money in yet.
I thought I remembered like 30 when that was presented to us in January or
That was if we did all the schools.
Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
And so everyone's favorite topic, a roundabout could be approved project with the idea of slowing traffic and making it safer. Additional biking lanes, additional signage, crossings, things like that are all projects that could be identified in this process. So, and I did pose the question to the group and to the organization, is there anything that says we have to contribute to this effort financially? And the answer is essentially no, we don't. And so I think that's what you gotta weigh, if we're partnering with the other, certainly the cost, if it goes through, is gonna be far greater than, our share to benefit our students if these projects do go through. But at the same time, all we really have to do is sign on to this. We've already administered our surveys out to parents and students, asking them how they get to school. We'd have to do that again after these projects are finished. And then we have, like I said, some informational, educational requirements to just help people understand how to get to and from school safely.
So we kind of got to dangle a little bit of a carrot to get some work done as a district.
Yeah, yes, that's true. Yeah. And there are other projects in the works at the same time. The Downtown Development Authority is pursuing some walkability grants, and don't quote me on the terms, but there's just a number of projects underway to improve mobility within the city limits and extending out into townships. So,
What's the timeline for this on our end?
so the grant would be June, and so now, and of course, I'm pulling up the wrong email. I had all this ready. I think it's probably twice a year there's a window, so I know the one we're trying to align with is the June window, and then it's probably, January-ish or somewhere in there. And, you could view this as this was a starting number in this conversation from the city, and go from there. They are meeting next week. I think they're meeting tonight. So they're waiting to hear, again, what the interest here is. And then I would think we could negotiate some other terms in that.
Hey, Jay, are you going?
Go ahead. I had a thought, and now it's gone.
I was just going to bring up, so everyone kind of knew when I talked to Dave about this. My main thing was, originally, it would be the city or the township or county that would be responsible for doing this anyways. So for us to contribute, it's kind of like, as long as you need us, then we could help with the grant and then back out. But at the same time, I do feel, in a sense, the money is kind of, in a way, coming out of the same bucket, whether it's from the county, the city, or us, as far as taxes and everything goes. So either way, I think it would be a positive thing. But I'd like to see what the city wants to put forward, though, too, before we commit. In the township.
Yeah.
You said grant opens in June, is that, or is it's due in June?
Yeah, it's due in June.
So then it might behoove us to go with state so that it's finished in time for June?
If we have an answer next week, we're good. Is that what you're asking?
Yeah. But, are we good depending on who's writing the grant?
The city, in talking to Rachel Smolinski, the city's going to take on the grant portion.
Okay.
I don't know if she still has to get that officially signed off on, but that's what she plans to do.
Okay.
From her board as well. I apologize. I had a great email with all of this, and of course it disappeared because the walking, maybe it's here.
It'd be nice if we could all split it 3 ways.
Yeah, it's a little bit disproportionate. The only one in the township is the junior high. And that's why the city is basing theirs off of the buildings in the city, so. But not necessarily spread it equally amongst the three, but the three partner, yes, I would agree. So if we, no, this isn't it. If we went forward with this, our next step would be in May, and they identified some dates to do a neighborhood walking study. And they coordinate this, and the idea is that we get out and get volunteers from the community to, go to stations and walk the city, record observations of sidewalks or no sidewalks, potholes, things like that. They gather that information and then start using that for their recommendations. So, long way of saying June is to submit, May is the date that we would be doing something as a community. And then, of course, approving the amount for it would be the first step. So I guess,
Are you looking for an amount, or are you?
yeah, I was trying to do it as politically correct as possible of just saying.
We'll see what you can do first.
Well, but the township's waiting for us, you said.
No, we haven't heard back yet.
We just haven't heard back.
Yeah.
I guess what's put out there that they say no to any money, we don't have it. Are we willing to balance out, was it 9,000? 11,000? 6 from
Yeah,
this?
6 to 9, 15 total, I think, is
15?
what we're talking about, so.
Okay.
And I would, put that to you, what is your comfort level? And I don't know how to gather that without, since we're on live broadcast.
Well,
What's Mary say?
What I seem to be hearing from the board is that there isn't opposition to putting something in the kitty, as it were, because that's, just being a good partner, and, even though they're benefiting from the grant money, it's still work. And then, of course, there are things that we're offering.
Yeah.
So by next week, you would be looking for an up or down on an amount from the board. And so maybe we just, could we perhaps punt on the discussion until we know more about the township's commitment?
Yeah, I'll go,
if there are any other developments, and then we could revisit this, have some discussion next week, but make sure it's an action item, so that we can move. Is everybody comfortable with that?
Does that work?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Okay. Well, that brings us to curriculum instruction. And, oh, good, you're still here.
Yeah.
Thank you for your patience. Let's begin with you, Fly.
And I'm going to go on again.
Yes.
My apologies, but while they're setting up, I just wanted to address what's making the headlines and everything, and that's the Mississippi Miracle. I think a couple of meetings ago, you all received an article on the Mississippi Miracle. And so the wonderful thing is UFly that we're talking about is part of the Mississippi Miracle. And I don't have a real formal presentation, but I just did some research into it, and it's pretty interesting. The people that are involved in Mississippi would prefer we call it the Mississippi Marathon, because this has been going on since about 2002 to 2003 in Mississippi. And in large, many components to it. There were starts, there were stops, and really it came down to it wasn't just a set of rules, it was a culture change that went across the state, largely driven by the state putting these processes in place. And I had all of this mapped out. But in 2012, the legislators toughened up their accountability regime. They went through A to F report cards, just like Michigan did, and then they continued to work on their accountability system. But then the commitment to high standards was the next thing that they really worked on. So Michigan had a third grade reading law passed in 2016, and it was repealed in 2023 before it was ever actually put in place. Michigan had all sorts of exemptions from that retention, from a portfolio to prove the student can read, to parents could simply write and say, I disagree, you can't retain my student. Big difference. Mississippi only allowed very narrow exceptions, such that the majority of children promoted to fourth grade must pass the state reading assessment in their first 3 tries. And if anyone's paying attention, they actually take their M-step 3 times in the year. We take it 1 time, and our law was based on that one administration. So what happens in Mississippi is they take it in the winter, I forget the dates, and if they're identified as not proficient, then they receive intense
Intervention.
Thank you. Intervention.
State-funded intervention.
State-funded intervention, and then they take it again. And if they don't pass it that time, again, they repeat the cycle, address the student where they are, and then they have that 3rd time. So they take it 3 times during the year, but they get intervention based off of that test. Not something that Michigan was even looking at. It has been a long meeting. I will spend more time on this. But reading of science, that's what UFly is, and that was one of their foundational things. So I want the community here, Alpena has been focused on the reading of science, and here's just another great example of the work we're seeing. And then there was one other thing. Mississippi aligned their state test to the National Assessment of Educational Progress, and that M-STEP is not aligned to those standards. Mississippi changed their entire standards, and that is the nation's report card. That's where these results are being reported from the NAEP administration. That's a pretty significant change or difference between Michigan and Mississippi. But, and I can go into this more later, Michigan has been, the article I read actually points out Michigan starting, stopping, repealing, changing, whereas Mississippi said this is the path we're on. And when I say Mississippi, the state of Mississippi said this is the path we're on. We're not deviating from it. When someone new gets elected, we're not going to throw everything out. They stuck with it since 2002, 2004, and then in 2019 was when they really started to see those marathon results, miraculous results. And so I guess I'm sharing all this, number one, because UFly is mentioned. Mississippi has been using that. It's wonderful. We're seeing results. But also we had people come up here and say education is easy. And nothing could be further from the truth. The Mississippi miracle that I'm sure people are thinking happened overnight, took a decade or more, and big difference, the state committed, and the state committed funds to support all of these activities. Michigan's not there yet. We are left to fund all of these. We are left to design the programs. They're trying, they're doing different things and trying it, but it didn't happen overnight. Education is hard. And we have incredible staff that are working incredibly hard, and now we get to hear from some of our incredible staff and some really promising results.
Okay, but you'll tell us more about this at a later date.
I can do it, yeah.
Yeah, I'm interested in hearing that, and it's kind of sounding like there is commitment, to, as we look at that case from Mississippi, what worked about that, and are there things that we can do here without Michigan?
Yeah.
So that sounds very encouraging.
Yep, and the answer is yes, and UFly is one of those.
So I have to give a little bit of a shout out because we wouldn't be able to implement the program the way that we did at the rapid rate that we did without the support of the AMA, literacy coaches and consultant. This is for our foundational learning readers, so our K2 or K3 readers, and then intervention all the way up to Mrs. Ray's classroom at the high school. So this is really teaching the students those foundational basics that they've been missing. So they have supported us. It has been funded through a state fund, 35M, that you might hear about with the dyslexia legislation or PA 146. The tricky thing is, and we went into this a little bit, is they offered this grant for us to implement for next school year. If you didn't implement it next school year, you didn't receive the funds. So when we were approved with it, we had a plan. I called Megan Black and said, we need to pilot this year. This is a huge undertaking with our schools, because with Benchmark Advanced phonics and fluency instruction, it's huge. So she absolutely took on the challenge along with Becky Meyer and our K2 teachers. And so we are going to focus a lot on Ella White K1 because second grade started at, get into my timeline, a little bit later. But our focus and data is going to be Ella White K1 because that has been the most consistent over the last year of this year. So we did actually first see UFly in APS in August 2024 when special ed was using it. Last January, our Title I teachers began using the intervention. And then August, like I said, Ella White K1. Currently, Lincoln is using it K2, Ella White K2 as well. They joined in this past January. We have focused our elementary professional development on UFly implementation, and then teachers had the option, if they wanted to start it this year, they could. That had to have ongoing coaching support because it is a very scripted, explicit program that needs to be followed exactly as written. And so as of when I created or updated this on Friday, the number of teachers that each building, Hinks has 1 teacher, Sanborn has 3, Besser had 8, and Wilson had 2. I've had more requests coming in since then. So I know there's at least 2 more classrooms that are opting to try it out for full implementation in September. So what does, why UFly Foundations? Number 1, it does follow the science of reading. The instruction is systematic and it focuses on phonics and phonemic awareness, the most foundational skills. It meets the criteria for PA 146 or the dyslexia legislation. There were a handful of programs that we could utilize without having to completely, our current program, Benchmark Advanced, which as you know is fairly new, did not meet the criteria for their phonics fluency instruction. So this was a way to supplement without completely switching gears on a new program. The scope and sequence is logical. It starts from very simple to complex multisyllabic patterns. It continuously progress monitors students to make sure that there aren't foundational gaps that they're missing. The instruction is direct instruction model. It's an 8-step routine that the students know what to expect every single day. So the lessons are 2 per week. So they have a Monday, Tuesday lesson. I think it's less like maybe step 1 through 5 on Monday and then 5 through 8 on Tuesday. The next lesson, they do the same thing. So our students who maybe don't do well with surprises, maybe have some experience in trauma, it's very friendly for those students because that repetition is comfortable for them. They know exactly what to expect. Also, high repetition promotes mastery. They are making all decisions based on progress monitoring, which occurs every 5th day. That is required by the new state law, PA 146. And then it is 30 minutes of daily phonics instruction and then an additional 30 minutes during the small group instruction. So Megan will speak a little bit more about what that looks like, but it allows them to focus on those 30 minutes and then they still have time to focus on literature, writing, and other content area learning. So with that, I will turn it over.
And, just to piggyback off of what Stephanie said, I think one of the reasons that we connected on this is because we had been looking at our data. And we know that we've got students who come to us without preschool, and we know we've got students who come to us with preschool. And so our demographic at Ella White looks very we've got the haves and the have-nots. We've got kiddos who come in with the skills that necessary, and we have kids who don't. And this program does a really great job of helping us get all learners to the same place. So that was one of our hopes. So like Stephanie said, this program, the UFly program, is based on a scope and sequence that was carefully developed that when used in partnership with research-based instructional practices really ensures that your kiddos are reaching mastery. So what does growth in the program look like? How do we know if they're getting what they need? It's because they're mastering these foundational skills, the foundational skills that we need for our kiddos to be readers. So if you look on here, you'll see, let's just take kindergarten for an example. So over the course of the year, they are going to do, by the end of the year, master uppercase letter names, lowercase letter names, letter sounds, and short vowels. But they're also going to get some exposure to some of those more complex skills like digraphs, VCE words, and longer words. In first grade, then that becomes skills that should be mastered by the students, and so on and so forth. So how do we know if these kiddos are getting what they need and mastering those skills? We start with the progress monitoring. So in accordance with the law, UFLI does have teachers do a progress monitoring the 5th day of the week, so to speak. And so what you see here is actual data from our school. The column on the I did the column on the right and the column on the left because I wanted you to see two different situations. So the one on the left, lesson 67A, compound words, the teacher has taught, like Stephanie was saying, the 2 days, and now we're doing a progress monitoring. And you can see that 14 of the 18 kids exceeded expectations and have mastered that skill. The kiddos in green are meeting expectations but might need just a little bit more. You can see that the one on the right was probably a little bit more complex of a skill, and or the students didn't have as much background knowledge, and so you can see that there are kids across the blue, green, yellow, and red. And so then what do? We delve deeper. So if they are red, their skill is emerging and they need 5 days of small group instruction. If they are yellow, their skill set is developing and they need 3 days a week. If they're green, they get that 2 days, and if they're blue, they're good to go. They've mastered the skill. So that's great, that's skill by skill, but how do we know over the course of the year that we're seeing the progress? And that's where our benchmarking comes in. So we do this 3 times a year. This is our kindergarten group, so you can see in the fall, we had 88% of our kiddos who were emerging in kindergarten. That needle has now moved in the winter. You can see that we've got 31% emerging, 41% developing, 24% meeting, and 4% exceeding. So the goal will be then at the end of the year to do that benchmarking again, and our hope would be to see that pie graph shift even further. We know that there are some kiddos who are going to be in that red, and that's important for us to note because those are the kids that we want to keep an eye on. If the whole group instruction isn't working and we're giving them small group and the small group isn't working, then there's something else going on and we need to dig a little bit deeper on those students. So that's our kindergarten group. This is our first grade group. You'll see it looks a little bit different. So it's really important not only for the classroom teacher to be looking at the data, but also the school leadership team to be looking at the data. And so we started questioning why the red. And we've got a couple of theories, one of which our kindergartners did not have this program last year. And so if we have kids with a wide gap in skill that then move into first grade, they still have that wide gap. And so we're making up for lost time, essentially. And also, we talked a bit about intervention and who is doing the intervention. I won't go into details on that, but problem solving around that, and we're hopeful that in the spring, this one will also look really good.
So of course, the decisions that we're making is based on data. One question that I had, I'm just going to go back a little bit to this one. The intervention tiers. The one question that I had was like, okay, so if you're having this group 5 days a week, you're having this group 3 days a week, you're having this group 2 days a week, how do you fit all of that into just a 30-minute chunk? So your 5-day-a-week group is just going to be the red kiddos. Maybe on Monday, Wednesday, Friday, the yellow kids are going to join that same group for that same skill, and then the other Tuesday, Thursday, the green kids might. So this is all happening at the same time. So it's not like when I was in elementary, as you had like the Eagles and then you had like the turkey buzzards. They're not being singled out. It's just you're at this group this day with me, and it's a mix of kids. So I just wanted to.
And to piggyback on that piggyback, one really cool thing, again, a good partnership with AMA, is that we're using our interventionists in coordination. So it's not just our classroom teacher doing this work, but also our interventionists are taking a part in this as well.
So you've probably heard of the STARS program, or our Title I teachers are all trained and utilizing the same program, which is the systematic, constant increased dosage is what the science of reading has found makes the most gains. So with that being said, I'm not going to read these to you, but you can take a minute and read it. These are what our K1 teachers had to say about UFly from Ella White. And the one thing that I wanted to just kind of point out is the phrase that the challenges turned into confidence. It helped a teacher understand how to teach reading better, not just to teach the kids. And then also having that those data-driven conversations it's not something that's new, but it's something that is a little bit more prevalent, as the data prior to UFly, that data wasn't always accessible, whereas now it's weekly information instead of waiting for like a 6 or 8 week intervention cycle. Any questions? All right. Cool. Well, thank you very much.
Very cool. Thank you.
Self-fitting stretch. Ice cream sounds good.
All right. So we're here today to give an update on the ongoing work with our AI committee. I just joined this committee a couple months ago, so I've been working hard to catch up of all the great work that's been taking place with our committee leaders here. So I have John, Mike, and Matt here to help support the presentation and share again, kind of all the work that we've done so far, and also thinking about next year and implementation and what that might look like. So to start, we really wanted to identify our APS why, how, and what for artificial intelligence. And so for the why, we wanted to make sure to prepare resourceful and productive citizens. APS integrates AI as a thought partner for the future. And that thought partner piece is really about helping students and staff just have a thought partner with AI to spark that creativity or to brainstorm. If I was writing a paper and I was kind of stuck about a topic, I could use AI just to kind of brainstorm some ideas. So not to replace thinking. So we want to empower our students and staff to use technology to enhance critical thinking, reduce barriers to learning, and master digital literacy. And some barriers we might see to learning, for example, might be a student who requires some accommodations, and then with that time that teacher needs to take to support those accommodations in class. So AI can really help provide access and help get that differentiation planning done in a much shorter time than in the past. So the how, in partnership with our community, we deploy AI through a human-in-the-loop framework. And so we've already been working with AMA, with Ashley O'Connor as the content area expert to help support this process. And then, of course, we partner with our families. And we'll talk more about ideas to engage our community in this work as we go through the presentation. And the human-in-the-loop really emphasizes that The human is in charge. The human is doing the inquiry, and the human is responsible for the outcome. So again, AI is a tool. It's not used to replace. It's just to assist. So we prioritize innovation and logic by utilizing district-vetted tools, and we'll talk about those vetted tools that the committee identified through their work this year. Ensuring strict data privacy, which is outlined in our guidelines that we'll go over here in just a minute, and professional agency. We still want to allow teachers to use their creativity and have that professional agency when developing their lessons, and AI can be a support for that. For our what? AI and APS fosters creativity and resilience without bypassing the thinking process. Students use AI as a tutor and a brainstormer, again, as that thought partner, while teachers leverage it to differentiate and scaffold learning, and we'll talk more about that as we go through the presentation. So with our implementation for next year, AI is a really broad, involved implementation. So we broke it up into 3 parts. The first would be our protocols. So our student and teacher guidelines, those are kind of the rules on how to use AI, and we'll go over those. And then the AI tool implementation, these are the district-vetted platforms that we'll talk about and give you a little demonstration on, and that's Magic School and Gemini. And the other piece is the AI literacy. We want to make sure that our students know how to use AI in a safe and appropriate way and really understand those guidelines and support our parents in this initiative and make sure that they have the tools to know what to look for at home and just be really transparent about the great things we're doing with technology at APS. So I will turn it over to Matt to give us a refresher on where we've been.
So it's been a busy year. This is our 3rd time we came back to visit, and I'm not going to read these to you, but one of the things, a shout out to Ashley really helping us get there, but the team, the committee's met multiple days, multiple times. We had many full meetings, many quick meetings. We've attended some conferences, obviously updated the board, but I think the biggest thing is it's been a learning curve for everybody. AI changes by the day. The technology that's out there changes very rapidly. There's all sorts of things out there, and there's lots of different ways you can look at it. But I think that when you look at the overall view of what this can do for education, think of differentiation. Think of how you can adapt lessons, how you can adapt the way you teach, the way you instruct, the way that students learn. How can you implement that? And then also with our other stakeholders, how do we bring parents alongside of that? We know there's probably many folks out there in the community that, as we mentioned earlier, we use AI every day. It's pretty much embedded in our lives. But is it forward-facing or is it rear-facing? Forward-facing is where it's really going to hit you. But how do we educate folks on that? And how do we bring them along so parents have a better perception on that? We're going to continue that process as we go on. So ultimately, we're going to come back to you in a little bit, talk more about Magic School, but I'm going to turn it over to Mike, and he's going to kind of go through some of our policies and practices.
Yes, so teacher guidelines, I think there's a lot of fear out there in terms of AI because of all the forward-facing AI that we're seeing right now. And there's a lot of fear on the teacher side in terms of we don't want to see our students to lose the opportunity to think and show their thinking in class. And that's a lot of the fear that we have right now from our teachers, is that access to AI is going to result in less thinking in the classroom, less rigor in the learning, and that's going to end up in a result that nobody wants. And so that's been a lot of our process here, keeping that in mind of education is going to be the best way to get around that fear and understand that we still want to provide rigor and help kids to acquire the AI literacy, to know what they're doing with AI, when it's appropriate and when it's definitely not.
Yeah, Mike, this is one of the handouts, those packets that I put in front of you. Have those.
Yes. So, again, we keep saying about differentiation. As a special education teacher, I can tell you I've had a lot of conversations with general ed teachers across the years of working with students with learning disabilities, cognitive disabilities, who we have to remember those are general ed students first. Meaning when they come into that classroom, whether it's mine or the general ed teacher, they still need access. And unfortunately, many of the times the curriculum tools that are given to a teacher don't have individualized resources for those students at their levels. And so that's one of the powerful things about the use that a teacher can have with AI, is saying, okay, here's where I want to work with my general ed students, how do I use the same content and use the AI tool that I have access to take that same content without watering it down, without losing the meaning, without the learning resulting in different outcomes, be accessible to our students with disabilities. So that's a beautiful thing right there. I think another great tool is, you see on here about communication. Personal story, there's been times that I've sent a text to my wife that is read differently than the way I've intended it. I think we can all say that we've received or read an email the same way. And so this is something that we can use as a filter of like, please, I want this email to come off as professional, and I don't want to hurt any feelings, and using that as, again, we can't take the human out of this interaction, this communication, but we can try to start off on the right foot. And that really is one of the filters that teachers and staff can have with using this tool as communication. Again, it goes back to there's appropriate uses, right? It's going to be, we have tools from UFly to Savas. There's not an intention to say, okay, we need to differentiate today, throw all of your curriculum work out and go to AI and use that tool. Rather, it's about how can we continue to use the tools that we've invested heavily in and use AI to support those student learnings and ensure that we're still coming up with the best, as the teacher in the room, tools to present to our students. One of the things that we say a lot is garbage in, garbage out. I can tell you, I've been in the same spot that Stacy referenced about being stuck, and you start throwing something into a prompt, whether it's Google. I mean, that's something I did as a student of like, give me some good ideas on a presentation to my class. And you read through these suggestions, and you walk away and say, none of these are any good. I'm going to go with what my first thought was, but at least it helped you eliminate some bad ideas. And so that's another piece that I see being useful to this, is that when you put things into this, you come away saying, I'm better than AI too, right? As opposed to an adult going and saying, this is going to be the best thing for me. So, but most importantly, I think it's been said in multiple times tonight about safety and security for our students. We do not want to utilize any sort of tool that puts any sort of information around our students at risk, which is why, when we talk about Gemini Future, in the future here, it's tied to Google. It's part of our suite already. So it's protecting student information right there, because that's just too important of information to get out there in the world that we live in. So that is an additional responsibility on the staff member to be talking with their students about, we can't control what you do outside of the classroom. We can't control how, with Snapchat right now, there is an AI platform to that. That students can put in whatever they want, and that is not something that we as educators have any access to or any desire to be a part of that Snapchat conversation. But that's a danger out there, and we need to be teaching our students that they need to, if they have access to it, they need to be very careful with what they're doing. So again, that professional responsibility piece comes back to, there's always going to be a human in the room. There's always going to be that adult that is the leader in the classroom, that role model to teach this is the right way to do something, and these are the dangers that we have in our world. So on the other side of it, students, right? This is not going to be something that we want students to think, okay, we're talking about AI at a board meeting. That means we get to do whatever we want when it comes to AI in the future. So really, we want to look at teaching kids how to use this appropriately, knowing that the only time they're ever going to be using this on an assignment with teacher approval is when it's been given ahead of time. We know right now AI is being used, right? And unfortunately, we're trying to use AI to catch AI, which doesn't really work very well. And the other side of this coin is that students are going to cheat. And there's some research out there that shows even with AI, the rate of cheating has not gone up. You can walk our halls, you can go to the cafeteria, there's still going to be the student who doesn't have a camera, who isn't using AI, but just has the good old paper copy of someone's assignment and is trying to write it down right then. That stuff is still going to happen. Having these guidelines in place is not going to get rid of it, but it again is going to be something that teaches kids the when and the where of when we can use this. I think about my own daughter. She is not somebody that enjoys using videos to learn a math problem. She enjoys sitting next to her mother to learn about math and to really try and reinforce some of those skills. But we're all very busy people, and as much as we'd love to spend hours next to our children working on their homework, that isn't always something that we can fit in when we're running 5 different directions. You know, this is something that if students are given guidance on how to use these tools, they can study for different assessments. Again, I think going back to the teacher guidelines as well as the student guidelines is that our instruction should not just be making a student go home and say, I can just make flashcards. Like, it's beyond just rote memorization. We want students to be prompted to think deeper, to do some analysis, and so that's where some of these tools might be something you can do. So again, we want students to understand that they're taking ownership of this. Right now, if you look at our code of conduct, there is academic dishonesty. You know, utilizing AI without teacher approval would be meeting that criteria of being academically dishonest. And so there would be consequences for that. And just like if you look at a code of conduct, which is on our website, there are different levels to all of the different violations there. And so students would again be held accountable. And at the end of the day, it's AI, right? Check with the human in the room first on if this is accurate. Check with your parents if this is accurate. There's different tools out there. Some of those tools are making data up as students go along. Other tools use only the information that you put in. So it goes back to that garbage in, garbage out. But if you put good stuff in, hopefully you'll come away with something that you can take some pride in, and it isn't necessarily the whole of what you're doing, but it maybe was just the first domino that you needed in getting started on an amazing piece of work.
All right, so I'm going to walk you through Magic School. In your email right now, you have a document from Matt that gives you a login in Magic School so that you can go in and play with it and use the tools that are in there as a teacher. So one of the things in here, you have teacher tools. You'll see in here, there's multiple tools in here that you can use, look at. If, like, for example, if I click on worksheet generator, I can click on that. It's going to bring it up. As Mike talked about, this is where the teacher's involved in generating this, putting this in to develop for the students. You can also look at show exemplar, and it will give you a sample of what Magic School's already created, especially for a tool if you're not familiar with. It'll walk you through exactly what the prompts were that were put in, what the output is. When you scroll down, you'll see what the output is that Magic School came up with. Also, you will see Raina, which is their chat bot in there that you can chat with. One of the nice things about Magic School is the safeties that are built within it, that if a student is chatting in there and types something that's alarming, Magic School is going to flag it, the teacher's going to be notified, and then the teacher can handle it as we address those concerns when they do come up. You also be able to see the student, Magic Student is in there, so you can go in and play with those tools as well. So I would encourage you to go in there. Also in that email, there's going to be 3 documents. They're lengthy documents, but one is the AI safety loop, the mitigating companionship risk, and that's where you hear a lot about students that are having relationships with chatbots. It talks about that and how Magic School handles that when that does come up, when it is engaging with the chatbot. And then also the student parent flyer link is in there. Also, you will see links to videos from Magic School that I would encourage you to go watch, to view. Again, Magic School is a tool that we decided as a group that would be good to put in for our teachers and our students. There's a lot of tools out there, but Magic School has the guardrails already built in for us when it comes to our teachers using it, the personalization of them being in there and developing it, also helping them come up with differentiated instruction. And then also on the student side, it is led by the teacher. The teacher's involved in all the steps when the teacher's in that document using it. And then Gemini, which I like to refer to Gemini as the workflow. We use it a lot. It's built in, as Mike addressed, into our Google Workspace, but it's also built into our emails, to our documents. It can help us sometimes find meeting dates with staff that have busy schedules, and it will look for those for us. Again, help us develop our thoughts, look at data. But one of the things about Gemini is sometimes it likes to put in information that's not true. So you have to fact check it. You have to go back through and double check it. Make sure that it's correct. Again, putting the human back involved in this. The human has to have some responsibility to doing that. Our goal currently is for Magic School, for our teachers to be trained during first semester, make sure they have all the tools, make sure that they understand it. And then second semester, we would roll that out to the students to be involved. And again, using that information as we develop, as AI develops every day, to help guide us in our direction of where we're going. Magic School, one of the biggest things about them is created by educators. They have multiple different former teachers that are involved in the tools that are in here. When you get in there and play with that, you're going to see that. Also, we have a rep who is fantastic. Their customer service is fantastic. We reached out to them today on a couple of things. They got back to us within an hour of the information that we needed, which is really good to know. When a lot of times you call customer service and you get nobody, or you get the automated answers. So it's good to have a rep there with us. Again, the goal for Magic School is not to complete the work for the students, but to help the student learn, grow in their skills, and develop and participate in their education. So those are the biggest things that I want to point out to you, but I'm going to encourage you to get that link from Matt that's already in your email, play with it, look at those documents, so that you have a better understanding of what Magic School can do for us. It's a fantastic tool, along with Gemini, that's going to enhance our staff and our efficiency. Oh, I didn't mean to do that. Yep. Go.
And just to piggyback off of John, the Magic School teacher will be available to all of our teachers, JK through 12th grade. But for the student, we're just going to focus on secondary for right now, and we'll be piloting it with some staff who want to give it a try so we can learn from it and then go from there. So understand that. Some teachers may not want to hop right into all this work, especially at elementary with all the other work they have going on. It's a lot. So the other part of our implementation plan is AI literacy for students and parents. And so we want to inform our parents and collaborate with them, with our community. And to do that, we want them informed and be really transparent about how we're using technology. And so our hope is to develop a K-12 technology expo second semester of next year. And through that, we would have lots of exhibits and demonstrations, really emphasizing on not just AI, but all of the technology that we have opportunities for students to access at APS, and how we're using that technology to prepare them for life after school and to be career ready. So we will be focusing on safety protocols and, again, having those demonstrations that will include district AI tools, but hopefully involve some students in some of those demonstrations and incorporate our collaborative partners across the community. And then when parents come to this event, they can walk away with some information to know how to support AI at home and really understand that connection to future readiness and why we're doing this work. And so some potential collaborative partners would be Michigan State Police, Michigan Virtual, Alpena Community College, and again, AMA, ASD. So a lot of this work is under development, but this is a target goal for us to have an expo to involve parents. For students, obviously, we need to provide students with some direct instruction. We hope to have in our advisory classes at the secondary level to develop some lessons that can be incorporated into that time of day to talk about just how to use AI. And that will be dependent on the developmental age of that student and how what's appropriate for them to use at that grade level. But it will include, like prompting and just general safety safety and reinforce our guidelines, but just build their skills on how to really use AI to help support them throughout their schooling and to be career ready. The following school year, we will be looking at upper elementary and thinking about what do students in upper elementary need, and considering how to incorporate some lessons into those grade levels. We also need to make sure that our students have some direct instruction about our district guidelines. So we don't teach them the guidelines. We can't expect them to understand and know the expectation. And some ideas where this can be incorporated could be in the teacher syllabus. Secondary teachers go over that at the very beginning of the school year. And in those assignments where AI is an allowable tool, the teacher will set up those parameters and can reinforce those guidelines through that process as well. And again, we want students to really understand, that AI is not just, for messing around. It's a tool for learning, and we want to make sure that connection is clear to post-secondary education and into those career pathway opportunities. The other thing we want to do to help support our teachers in the implementation of Magic School and Gemini is to create professional learning communities. And so this will be a focus group of professionals, elementary, secondary, special education, and our instructional coaches. These groups will receive extra training on our district-approved tools and will act as a resource to teachers across the district. Our hope is to recruit a teacher from every building so that every building will have somebody with a little extra training that can help support implementation and cheer on their colleagues and encourage the use of these platforms. And I'll turn it over to Matt about next steps.
And I get to give you your fun assignment. You get homework. So in your email, there is a bunch of references that John was mentioning and the others. One of the things I'd encourage you is log into it, play around with it. It's like technology, everything else, right? You have to get in there and see what it's like. But really log into the sandbox. You can't hurt it. It's a sandbox. And really take a look at it. You're going to be viewed as from the teacher side, but you also have access to the student side, so you can kind of see both worlds of it. After that, if you have any questions along there, I would also make sure you look at this. This is the handout. It's a handout I gave you, but it's also in your email, and these are all active links. Nice thing about this is directly from Magic School, so it'll kind of jump you around and gives you a little taste of both worlds, both on the teacher side, the student side, as well as the admin side, so you can see a little bit of everything. And again, those links are also in that email. After that, take a look. The quote is in there for a 3-year quote. Why a 3-year quote? I think it's with anything that you bring on board to do something for a year, you really don't have an idea what is, what's the potential for it. This is going to be one of those things that's going to continue to evolve. It's going to continue to grow. As we unpack this and really look at the different grade levels, I think it's important that we have consistency. So when you look at that, kind of see where that is. Then really what we'd like you to do is, at the next meeting, which is coming up, prove that this will be our district AI network that we'll use for the next 3 years. Will it be the only one? No. Will it be our primary? That's the goal. This is after vetting, I won't say hundreds, but honestly, we vetted probably, seems like 100. The team spent a lot of time vetting through what's out there, really what's good, what's bad. Is this where things are going to be in 3 years? I think with technology, we know things change, but at the same time, this is a very solid, safe, user-friendly, teacher-driven. That's one of the things I personally like about it, is teacher-driven. As a teacher, you'll be able to create the classrooms which students will be able to enter. And you control what happens in there. You'll be able to control what they see, how they see it, which is great for the different age levels. You'll be able to really get in and meet right in a sense the chatbot, which has a lot of safety features built into it that many of the others don't, just by nature of what it is with schools. So I think it's important that we have that 3-year connection with them to be able to build it and see where it goes. And then from there, really, this was year 0. This was kind of our bring the team together, put the pieces together, see what we have. And our kickoff will be taking place in August at our PD, which again, that'll help get the staff going in the right direction. We'll develop the pilot with some of the classrooms. We'll start implementing it throughout the courses, and we'll see during the duration of next year as this thing starts to unpack and we start to grow, as we mentioned, even the pieces of bringing the students, the community, and as well as our families together. So, well, I know it's been a long night, and I know that's a whole lot of stuff. And this is kind of they're questions, but it's one of those, it might be easier just to go home, have questions, but.
Just what other schools or districts are using this too? Do you know?
Atlanta, this is through the ESD, so Atlanta,
Okay.
Hillman, Alcona, They're all
Downstate, across state?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. There's, and you'll see once you get in there, there's some huge districts that are using it. I think Atlanta's using it. I mean, there's some really big ones. There's some local ones. Nice thing we like about the local ability also with Ashley and with the other districts, they've been doing this now for a year. So a lot of what they've been able to do is kind of pave the way for us to be able to follow. And, you know, here's a potential bump. Here's something that works great. Try this. So we have that as an in-house resource. But it is it's a big organization.
Other questions? I've got a couple, I guess. Sure. So I'm glad that you addressed some of the student end of things, and I'll enjoy trying out the sandbox because, I mean, I'm sure that parents will have concerns about what this will do. I mean, there are always unintended consequences to this kind of thing. I mean, raise your hand if you are lazier about spelling because of autocorrect on your computer and phone.
It does it for us, right? We don't even have to think about it.
Right. So,
it just says you're done.
Yeah, and to be honest, I kind of feel, if we, I mean, we're an awesome district, but if there's something that we could probably do even more awesomely, it would be spelling. So I think that there are things that we might want to, keep in mind. And I trust you all to be sensitive to those things as this develops, because I'm sure there will be things like, oh, wow, it's just doing that for them. Let's make sure that,
I think it's that interesting piece about it because I think it was Mike, somebody mentioned about writing emails, right? I mean, let's face it. There's sometimes you're going, I can have some, the bot can do it for me. It'll probably be better than I can write, yada, yada. And then you're going, nope. And you really have to, that's part of that whole appreciation with the students, but also a difference between what do you have to do as the thought partner as opposed to being the the individual that actually creates it. It's creating that, but it's really making them reflect and say, maybe I should try this and give it a go. And I think that's one of the biggest things we can do as a district is really teach our students how to use it the right way. We know they're using it. I mean, go home and ask their kid. Well, they may tell you, they may not. But they're using all sorts of stuff that's out there, some good, some bad. But the reality is with it, we have to teach them the right way to use it because that's how we're going to be able to get through and help move forward with what we need to.
So my second question is, you addressed this somewhat in the teacher guidelines, but let's say I'm just a member of the public and I'm concerned that teachers are going to use this way too much for lesson planning and things like that. So what are some of the reassurances that you can give parents that teachers are going to continue to really, use their training, do their jobs, and not rely on this too much? Like I said, you've got some steps in here, but how can we reassure those parents?
I think, and Stacey, if she wants to come up, but I think one of the biggest pieces about that is it's the profession as itself. You're right. Could this be a potential educational cheat? I think it could be for any occupation. But what you really have to do is you really have to trust that here's what we have, here's the resources that we have, here's what we can do to use it in a way that informs them, and that's where you really bring them alongside of you. I think just to say we're going to create this pathway that we're really going to hold back, but you saw as one of the slides, one of the biggest things we want to do is we want to inform the community. We want to talk to our parents. We want to let them know what's out there. And that's both on the professional side and the student side. You have to bring them along. Could they do it? Honestly, I'll tell you right now, the younger teachers, they look at this and they're like, why would you not help? Why would this not support you? And you're like, okay, well, it's a pretty good idea. How do you use it? And I think that's where you have to educate not only us, but also the general public and say, this is how we can help it in our profession. What else can you do with it from there?
And I'll just chime in too, for part of our monitoring, we will be able to see the district usage for these tools to kind of have an idea of where it's being used and how much. And then also the thought too with our PLC is to have them do some demonstrations so they can demonstrate to their colleagues the appropriate use and cool ways to use it that enhances instruction, not replaces instruction. And the principals are in the classrooms a lot, and we will have monitoring protocols in place for all of these things, but those are just some preliminary ideas.
Okay. I want to add some things that are actually ongoing right now too, just in terms of planning. Right now at the high school, I know at the junior high as well, there's common planning at the junior high. There's less of it at the high school, so teachers are having to meet at different points in time with their colleagues, because what we really try to do is we try to make sure that there's not just one person teaching English 9. Rather, they have a thought partner, a colleague who is planning similarly, because with the way Synergy works, you may have had kids or know of kids that had a different teacher at the semester, and so we have to have common planning that takes place throughout the year and with each unit and with each assessment, because honestly, it makes everybody's life a lot easier when we're all on the same page. And so when you talk about an individual teacher going off script and using AI more than they should, it's going to get picked up on in those collaborative conversations that are with their colleagues and with our instructional coaches. And those conversations are built around data too. And so when we're like, okay, why is data going one way in this class and one way in this class? We have those filters right now to, and again, it's not about a gotcha, it's about student outcomes that are positive, right? And so, again, I think that the trap to AI for students and adults is that it's easy. But the more time you spend in it, the more time you realize that I have to put quality thought into my prompt in order to get a quality response.
It's interesting, out of all the, we've seen a lot of presentations over the last few months. Most of them probably have been AI in one way or another. Ours is old school. I mean, we're talking about that today. I think we did 2 slides that were AI, and the rest are like, let's think through this. What are we really trying to show? We could have glitz and glamored it and done this. We could have probably put holograms up here, right? But it was really that point of let's think through what are the key points we're really trying to address, and then from there build it. So I think that's part of the profession. I think that's part of those growth factors for everybody. But it's a cultural shift, and we just have to figure out how we're going to shift with it.
Other questions? Well, I appreciate the amount of thought that you all have put into this, and I think it's fantastic that we are trying to get ahead of this rather than just reacting. So, I mean, it really does look quite proactive what you're doing. So we'll have fun in the sandbox.
Yeah, and if you have any questions, send us an email, because like I say, if you can't get on or whatever else, but
absolutely,
it's fun to get in there and see what it has.
And just a jargon heads up, so everyone knows, sandbox is a relatively new term, and it means you're going into the product and you're trying it out and you can't screw anything up. You
can
can't
try
make
it.
any changes to it. So
you can't break it.
You can play in the sandbox of Magic School without actually doing any damage. So,
okay.
Oh, AJ, did you have a question?
Anybody else? Yeah, AJ.
Back over to the teacher's guideline, and I'm not going to even try to say the word because I'm going to. But first bullet point, use AI to create or spark creativity. And I don't know how it works, obviously. But if we have a class of 25 students and we're talking about, we're looking for a presentation on forestry, and everybody types in presentation on forestry into the sandbox, Magic School Bus, are we going to get the same top 10 answers going to come up on everybody's screen?
Well, remember, it's the thing about AI is it learns. So it's one of those things, if you look at what it is and how it isn't, but it all is based on the prompt. If you do the exact same prompt where you get 25 of the same thing, even then you probably won't. Will you get some that are similar? Probably. But the reality is it's really about the prompt, and it might come up right away and say, hey, that's great. that's too much information. You have to narrow it down. So if you, let's say, again, forestry, I want to know how trees grow. Okay, it might start asking you questions. Well, do you want what kind of tree? Do you want one that's deciduous? Do you want a conifer? What are all those different things that go into it so it can help narrow it down? Then eventually get to the point of saying, okay, here's something you're interested in. Does this work? Could you get the same answers? You could. But now here's the other side of that. Walk away for 10 minutes, come back in, punch it in, ask the same question. Will you get the same answer? Maybe. You might have something different because it said, oh, well, I learned this from last time. Here's what you did. And now, oh, okay, this is what you're looking for. So it really, like I said, it evolves with what you have to do with it. But it's all based, and this is, I think, one of the most critical components we can teach our kids. It's all about prompting. It's about what you put in. Mike mentioned, I think, earlier, garbage in, garbage out. You have to be specific. I want to know about the Great Lakes, why the water level rose 10 inches in the last 10 days in Alpena, Michigan, based on the amount of rainfall. Okay, here you go. Okay, I want you to graph that for me in a way that I can understand as a third grader and show it to my teacher and say, hey, this is going to help the plants grow and our grass turn green. Okay. Those are very specific pieces that are in there, but it also helps get you to that point. So, does that answer that? Does that help?
Yeah.
And honestly, AJ, some of that is you really got to get in and I'd say get in, try the same thing over and over and see what you get. Because you may get the same thing, you may get different things.
And I think to that bullet point, it said about the teacher's role is to spark generative, creative instructional practices. If the result is 25 kids coming up with the same outcome, how am I being creative as an instructor? Mm-hmm. Right? So, I mean, that's going to be kind of your catch point too. Like, when we're teaching kids how to be creative, I'm not an artist, I'll tell you that. So like, I'm going to take a lot of prompting from an art teacher to come up with anything of quality. Whereas the next person is going to be, you give them a piece of paper and a pencil and they're going to be flying, right? So I think that's the point, is that like, this provides opportunity for a teacher to lean into different areas of their students' strengths and their own strengths to say, what can we come up with, right? And again, not every subject is going to lend itself to that opportunity. Like you said, come up with a presentation on forestry is a heck of a lot different than solving a proof. Because the proof is, you have your given, you have all the different strategies to solve that proof that have been time tested, right? So it really is just the opportunity to do things differently.
Stay there, Mike, 'cause you talked about teachers using AI to alter the curriculum for different student levels. And I'm not asking for a spot on, but could you give me, or come back next week with an example of that?
Well, I got one. McGraw-Hill is what we use for social studies as our online textbook.
Can you speak up a little bit? This is very important.
Yes, make sure we're speaking into the microphone.
Yes. So McGraw-Hill is our online social studies textbook, right? And when I talk about differentiating that text, it's about the teacher being able to copy that text into the platform to say, okay, my student should be reading at an 11th grade level. They read at a 6th grade level, and that's a real thing at the high school, okay? So all that's doing is putting that text at the 6th grade level like you would see in the Alpena News, right? So that's the goal, is that it makes it accessible. It's not about changing the content so that way one kid is learning about the Constitution and the next person is learning about speeding laws, right? It's the same content, it's just accessible.
And AJ, you'll see that as one of the modules, and it's one of the modules within Magic School that you'll see. Well, it's a reader. Basically, it'll say those same things. Here's what you have. Punch in what grade level do you have, what subject. You can upload the text into it and say, I want you to filter this into something else. That's one that's already been built in a sense, because it's a real life application that can happen. That's, I think, the power of the differentiation, because it is difficult to do that in a classroom with 30 kids.
Mm-hmm.
But when you have something that can help support that in that fashion and do it, relatively quickly, it potentially could be a game changer. How to get those students where they need to be.
And also, like, using that differentiation tool, like he just gave an example of for reading, is not to replace reading instruction. We have a legal obligation to ensure that students with disabilities have access to the least restrictive environment. And if they can access their education in the gen ed environment with accommodations, that's what we need to do. So we're still targeting skills that need to be targeted through the IEP, but allowing them that opportunity to be in gen ed classes where they can is totally appropriate, and legally is our legal responsibility to do that. So this AI tool makes that just a little bit easier for teachers, and just gives that immediate access for students.
One last one, and I'm going to ask Sarah this one. Through your years of experience in the classroom, what do you think of, well, you were on a lower L, but from a teacher's perspective, what is your opinion of these programs?
Looking at it from my lower L.
I didn't mean to say that.
No, I bet, but you have, just like they said, I have 24 students.
Yep.
I've got, okay, I'm doing kindergarten because that's where I'm at. I've got some that don't even know their letter IDs. I've got some that are reading.
Mm-hmm.
And then I have a small portion in the middle, and then I have my special ed student that I have to have accommodations for.
Mm-hmm.
So using a program like this, if I have a student who's reading, and I want to help the students that are, my students that are really struggling, I may be able to find a lesson that will help that student and improve his reading skills, but also find a lesson that's going to help my students that are really, really struggling. So this can work both ways, with your struggling students, with your students that are above grade level, that sometimes may get bored.
You could challenge them with something.
I can challenge them with this. And that's the other thing I was saying, is that it's a lot to do, and to have a program like this that can give me a little bit more help, that I'm not staying so late at school trying to figure out how I can keep this student who's so high engaged, but also work with my students. Then you've got the kids that are in the middle that are right on grade level. So maybe you want to challenge them a little bit too. And just looking at all these 24 students and but using a program like this that could give me ideas on how to keep all of my students engaged.
You like?
I like.
Okay.
Well, a couple of things I was thinking about. I feel like with differentiation, a lot of times if a kid needs to go above and beyond, they get more work. You know, like, oh, it's more of the same instead of like, here's what we're doing in class today, and I got you some extra work too. And you're like, no, they don't need extra.
They need more challenge.
Harder.
Yeah.
And I think just interest from parent with AI, Lucy, it maybe have been in the same situation, but like they were having spelling tests in their 10th grade class, and we were like, what can you do other than just keep writing and practicing? And so we went into AI, put all the words in there and said, can you make some crossword puzzles? Can you make word searches, like different assignments to like practice those spelling tests? So, you know, I think there are there can be great uses for it if used correctly.
And I think that's what you're going to see with the students. We're going to be surveying the students and the parents coming up here probably in a week. Sorry. We're going to be sending surveys out to the students and the parents in the next couple weeks or so. And I think we know this, but it's one of those, the piece that goes into it. Students are using this already. And again, it's what you see on the news and this and that. It's not about that. They really and truly use it. If they're stuck on an algebra problem, they're at home, guess what they're doing? They're going to figure out how to do it. And if they don't do it, they're going to figure out how to do it a different way. This becomes part of their DNA, especially with the older kids. I'm not talking maybe so much on the younger kids, but as you get those students, especially in high school, that are getting ready to move on to life afterwards, this is part of who they are. They don't see this as an addition to, they see this as something that complements who they are. What we have to do is be able to help focus them and say, okay, what's the difference? How do you use this and how do you use it in a way that can be productive? Again, are they going to cheat? Kids are going to cheat. They've been doing it since the time, as long as we've been around. The reality is, how do you focus this and how do you use that to your advantage? But really have a conversation, especially with a teenager, and say, do you use AI? And they'll probably look at you like, why wouldn't I use AI? You're like, oh, well, how do you use it? And that's really the biggest question you want to ask is, how do you use it? Well, last night I was cooking and I didn't know what I wanted to eat, so I took a picture of the refrigerator and said, tell me a recipe that I can make with this and have it done in 20 minutes. I wanted to include cheese. Voila. And you're like, by the way, you can do that and it works really well, but that's another story. But those are those things. I think that they really see that as part of who they are. So don't be afraid to ask them, because they will give you some honest insight. And they'll tell you the pitfalls too. They'll tell you what's good and what's bad. That's what we have. Have any questions, let us know. Email us. If not, we'll catch up.
Great presentation, folks. Thank you very much.
Yep.
All right. Snow days.
Snow days. I shared in my update. Yeah. Locked in there. This week I put in, there are 3 proposals from the legislature right now. One is to count up to 4 additional days for closure. The other is to go to that was the final one, 12. Double it from 6 to 12. And then where is the number on this one? Meet number of days under said follows. Providing only the hours and days of instruction actually missed due to state of emergency conditions. So one more time, 3 options that they're considering, adding 4 additional days to our 9, so 13 total, adding any days lost to state of emergency, and then doubling the annual numbers from 6 to 12, which in my reading would be Hour 6 is actually 9, because we can appeal an additional 3. So I'm assuming we would also then be able to go 12 and appeal additional 3. I don't know that for a fact, but they're working through those options. So ultimately, we still don't know where they are. But as I said in my updates to the board and the community, right now, it looks like May 22nd, that Friday, which is currently not a student or staff day, we would be able to utilize for a makeup day. And it looks like we might have to make up 2 days, so this would then give us that 1 day without adding on to the end of the school year. If we do that, and no matter what we do, the decision comes to the board. So if we don't have an answer by Monday, I would say we still say officially we're going to use May 22nd as one makeup day. Depending on what the legislature does, there may be additional makeup days to be made by adding on to the end of the school year.
So, absolute worst case scenario.
Where's my sheet?
What do we got for a date? Just so we're prepared, just so we're prepared for
Yep.
absolute worst case.
And I'm going to need some help with this, because...
Well, I'd rather, people be prepared,
Yeah.
just in case,
Okay, so if, and assuming I'm interpreting these right, because all I have is the email right now. So the first option is to count an additional 4 days in which it was not provided. So we're at 9 plus 4 is 13, and we currently have 17 snow days. Well, one is the, so technically, we would only be making up 16, because, yeah.
Where our attendance was not
Yep.
adequate.
So what was that?
17. Don't ask me that.
All right, so 4 additional days means we could go up to 13 days, because we got 9 plus 4 is 13. We won't make up the low attendance day, which means we would have to make up, I just lost track. How many did I say?
You're at 2 that we'd have to make up.
There we go. That's one option. Told you I'd need
Are
some
we sure
help.
we would get those additional 3 days, or does that change? I mean,
We're not sure of anything.
Well, I know, but
We
like,
don't
for right
know.
now, like, we can apply for those 3 extra days, but if they change this, like,
So the way I'm
the
reading
worst
this,
case scenario.
this is a change to what already exists.
Right.
And what already exists is we get a total of 9.
Right.
So 4 more is 13.
But are we sure we're gonna get those 4 more? Or if,
We don't know yet.
Option.
I mean, but we don't know if we'll get those 3. Can we count those 3 for sure?
I've never seen those 3 denied.
Right, but if they change it to where they get, you know what I'm saying? If they change
Yeah, yeah.
that, then they might take those away.
So it's only 1. It's a sleight of hand, is what you're saying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So worst case.
I would like to think our legislatures aren't going to do that, but I have to laugh when I say that. So if it is 9 plus the 4, that is the case. But if it is 6 plus the 4, then we're making up that many more days.
Worst case is 10.
Well, I'm going through the options. So option number one is 4 days. So if that is the 6 plus 3 plus 4, that's 13 days. If it is not 6 plus 3 and it is just 6 plus 4, that's a total of 10 days. In option A with the 3 days, we'd be making up 3 days. In option B without the 3, we'd be making up 6 days. Did I do that right?
You guys pick.
That's option
We'll
one.
put out the worst case, and anything before that would be,
Well, and then we got to go to the next one. So the next one is any day that was missed due to a state of emergency. And so the state of emergency was issued on Wednesday when we'd already been out for 3 days, the Friday before and the 3. So not counting those 3 days, we would have Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. So we would be making up, I lost count, so 6 plus 3.
Let's not get into the weeds here. It could be as many as 10, as few as 2.
Sure.
So the worst case scenario, school.
It's almost bedtime. Come on, Monica.
And none of these have been decided yet, and none of these have questions like you're talking about answered yet. The one thing I'm 99% confident is we have to at least make up one day, and that would be on May 22nd.
Right, and so you're proposing that we settle that definitively next Monday?
Yes,
For sure.
and if we have clarity from the legislature, we can address that as well.
Yeah.
But I think the one right now is we know we have an opportunity to reduce all of the worst-case scenarios by one by adding May 22nd.
Okay. All right, yeah, well.
That was amazingly difficult.
So everybody think about that. We can have more discussion on that next week, but that will be on our docket, as it were. Anything else?
Just recognizing that, people had plans and challenges that poses. And I don't remember if I had this conversation with the board or not. And Lisa, I don't think so. In the past, years ago, 2018, 2019, somewhere in there, we had PD days at the end of the calendar, at which point, when the calendar was announced in the summer or the previous year, they said, May 22nd is a potential snow day. So you'd be wise not to schedule things on that. We look to do that with this upcoming calendar, but we don't have that option. The days are scheduled out there before likely, we would hit our max of snow days and things like that. So the following year, if we look to rearrange the school year, rearrange PD, we'll have that in our practice to say, okay, if we've got PD days or half days or no days off, no staff and student days, from March on, we would just announce those as potential snow day makeups.
Okay.
That's it for me.
All right. That exhausts that portion of our agenda. Charitable gifts we can read next time. So check any difficult to pronounce names, Sarah, for next week. We've done our public comment because we moved it. Information and questions from board members.
I've got a couple. I'm sorry. I know it's late. One, this is a long agenda. I just wanted to put a reminder out there about that policy 0175.1 about reimbursing for board meeting conferences that were signed up but not attended. I think I brought that up at the last meeting, so if we can add that to meeting so we can talk about that policy and adding language. And I wanted to bring this up at the last meeting, but I know we had attendance. Let me just preface this by saying I absolutely hate conflict, so hate bringing anything up that causes a little bit of conflict. And this is directed towards you, Sarah. You're my friend. I've known you longer than anyone that sat up here. I respect you as a mom and as a friend, but I feel like we are remiss if we don't publicly discuss the attendance issue a little bit. I just think that if we're not handling our own problems, we've seen that like when there's issues that come up, if we don't handle them or at least acknowledge them, then the public takes it into their own hands. And I think if we can professionally address things or handle things politely, respectfully, following policy, that it takes some out of the public needing to do it for us. So I also just worry that when we're having attendance issues, and I get it, Sarah's super busy, you've got a big family, but I know we're all busy. AJ runs a farm. You were here when you were going through cancer treatments. So I just worry that when we're not attending things, it sends a message to other people who are considering to run that attendance is not really mandatory or important, and I just think we're remiss to not at least acknowledge it and know that we've talked about it, that Sarah's doing, trying, whatever it is. I would like to at least put it out there so that we're not acting like it's not a concern, or maybe it's not a concern, maybe it's only my concern. So that's all.
Okay, well, appreciate you bringing that up.
Yeah, no, I mean, I would never missed for anything fun. I mean, when my daughter was in the ICU as an infant, I was with her. And then when my other kids were sick, like, I've never missed for anything that wasn't, that I had to do. Being a mom comes first. And so, of course, under those circumstances, I broke my toe on the way to one of the meetings. I ended up in the ER. I mean, yep, I missed that day.
And
It's
she
never
didn't
been
notify me about
anything
that
fun.
one.
I know. I mean, so when circumstances like that come up, yes, prioritize being a mom. So, yep. And today, I was in the doctor's office because I feel absolutely terrible. I was diagnosed with something, and I'm here. So,
And again, I get it. So I just think like those are the things, if we can like just acknowledge them or have those conversations, I just think then other people don't have to do it on social media maybe as much, so.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Anything else?
Not for me.
Okay. I just had one item. We will continue to have some deputies present in our meetings, given, I think it's just prudent, given recent events and some, I would say, some pretty concerning and problematic language surrounding me in my letter this last weekend. So I think it's prudent. But I just want to be absolutely clear that the deputies are here to enhance safety and security for all of us, everyone in the room, and also not to police public comment. I think there are people who believe that is why they have been asked here. That has never been the case. So they are here to enhance safety and security and nothing else. So with that, I am finished. Are there any other, one more opportunity, any other issues? All right, seeing none, that concludes our agenda. You have on the end of here, you have advanced planning, April 27th. Next week here in this room is our regular meeting. We have some meetings in May and June, and those are on here as well. And with that, I will adjourn our meeting. Thank you all very much. Again, wonderful meeting and really great discussion. I think that this is one for the